waiting on the mayor. These people are getting bored. They need a little Christmas music. Oh, he came. Playing Christmas music.
Christmas music.
This meeting of the Starkville Board of Aldermen will now come to order. Please rise for the saying of the Pledge of Allegiance, after which Alderman Vaughn would like to yield to Pastor Stevens to lead us in a word of prayer, and we will observe a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's pray. Our Father in heaven, we praise you because you are God and you're worthy of our praise, and we thank you so much for the fact that you're on the throne all the time. And you see all things, you know all things. Father, you love us. Yes. We thank you so much for your incredible blessings. Father, even as we stand in this new building, we thank you for the blessing of this facility. Father, we thank you for this city. We thank you for our leaders. We thank you for our citizens. Father, we thank you for all of your blessings that you've bestowed upon this great city. And Father, as we come to this Christmas season, we thank you so much for your Son, Jesus Christ, and for the hope that we have and the meaning of life that comes from Jesus. And Father, I pray that you'll be with the aldermen tonight as they meet, and pray that you'll grant them your wisdom and guidance and direction for the city. For it's in your name we pray. Amen. Amen.
All right, you have before you a written agenda, and I have one recommended change to the agenda, and that is the removal of item 14B, which is an item under executive session, the transaction of business and discussion or negotiation regarding the location of a business. Are there any proposed revisions to the agenda? Alderman Perkins.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. Under Police Department, item J1, I don't have no problem with it, but I just don't like the use of the word moonlight, Mr. Attorney. So I would like to substitute that word with the word serve. You know, that's moonlight carries some other. You understand, lawyer?
I do. It works for me.
Okay, that's on the change to that, Mayor.
All right, proposed revision from Alderman Perkins is to change the wording of item 11J1 from discussion and consideration for Chief Frank Nichols to moonlight to discussion and consideration for Chief Frank Nichols to serve. Alderman Perkins, is that your proposed revision?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor.
Do I hear any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Seeing none, please note the change. Alderman Perkins, you have further proposed revision?
No, sir, Mr. Mayor.
Further proposed revision?
Mayor,
Alderman Nguyen.
page 2 under mayor's business, a resolution recognizing the Starkville Yellow Jacket, and I have that resolution. And the other items will follow there. Thank you. You're welcome.
So the proposed revision is to add a new Roman numeral 9A, recognition of the Starkville Yellow Jackets. Is that correct?
Yes.
Do I hear any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Saying none, please note the change. Alderman Nguyen, do you have any further proposed
No, I
revision?
don't.
Any further proposed revision from the members of the board? I would ask that somebody propose revising it to remove that executive session matter.
So, Mr. Mayor.
All right, proposed revision from Alderman Perkins is to remove item 14B, transaction of business or discussion, transaction of business and discussion or negotiation regarding the location of a business. Alderman Perkins, that's your proposed revision?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Seeing none, that matter's been removed from the agenda. Do we have any further proposed revisions to the agenda? Any further proposed revisions? Any further proposed revisions? Seeing none, a motion to approve the agenda as revised is in order.
So moved.
Motion has been made by Alderman Maynard to approve the agenda as revised. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Maynard, do you wish to speak on the matter? Any discussion, any discussion, any discussion? Saying none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. The next matter that you have before you is the consideration of the minutes from November 17, 2015. Motion has been made by Alderman Maynard to approve the minutes of the Mayor and Board of Aldermen from November 17, 2015, incorporating any and all changes recommended by the city attorney, otherwise as presented. Alderman Maynard, is that your motion?
Yes, it is.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been seconded by Alderman Carver. Alderman Maynard, you wish to speak on the merits?
No.
Any discussion, any discussion, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. That will take us to announcements and comments by the mayor and members of the board. And prior to our employee introductions, I do have one announcement, and that is I would just like to call to everybody's attention that the Boys and Girls Club annual sports talk is right around the corner. The Golden Triangle Boys and Girls Club is a vital part of this community, providing after-school activities and opportunities for learning and advancement for young people in the city of Starkville. Sports Talk is their biggest fundraiser of the year, and it is always an event worth attending. This year, new Mississippi State basketball coach Ben Howland will be the speaker. Tickets are $30 per adult, $50 per couple, $15 per child, and they can be purchased at the Starkville Boys and Girls Club. Now I'd like to introduce our new employees. First, I'd like to introduce Summitris Moore. And Summitris is our newest firefighter. Summitris is from Starkville and is a graduate of Starkville High School. He is currently attending Mississippi State University, where he is majoring in kinesiology. Summitris is the son of Sammy and Yolanda Moore. When time permits, he enjoys hunting and fishing. He and his family attend Greater Ebenezer Baptist Church. Please join me in welcoming Summitris. Next, I'd like to introduce David Perry. David is from Starkville and is a graduate of Alexander High School. Prior to joining the Sanitation and Environmental Services Department, David worked in maintenance for Flex Steel Industries. David is the son of James Perry and Conster Lindsay. He has 6 sisters: Alma, Sherry, Delois Powers, Donnie Stewart, Arita Spencer, Laura Walker, Ruby Gibson, and 4 brothers: James Perry, Curtis Perry, Raymond Perry, and Gene Perry. David is the proud father of 2 children, Crystal Wilson and Fabiny Scarlett. David and his family attend Lindsay Chapel in Starkville. Please join me in welcoming David. Now I'd like to introduce Shalamark Simpson. Shalamark is the new maintenance supervisor for the Parks and Recreation Department. Shalamark is originally from Atlanta, Georgia, and currently resides in Starkville, Mississippi. He was employed with the Parks and Recreation Department as lead maintenance worker from April of 2003 to September of 2014. He now joins the Parks and Recreation Department as a maintenance supervisor. Shalamark is a graduate of B.L. Moore High School and attended college at Itawamba Community College, Liberty University, and Christian Life School of Theology. He majored in criminal justice, interdisciplinary studies, theology, and science and religion. Shalamark has received 2 associate's degrees, 2 bachelor's degrees, and 1 master's degree, and is currently pursuing a 2nd master's degree. Shalamark is the son of Joyce Simpson and the late Robert D. Simpson. He has 2 brothers, Robert D. Simpson Jr. and Derek Simpson, and 2 sisters, Wanda Simpson and Tamiko Simpson. He is married to the former Pamela Rogers. During his spare time, Shalamark enjoys reading and spending time with his family. He and his family attend First Baptist Church in Cedar Bluff. Please join me in welcoming Shalamark Simpson. And that concludes my comments this evening. Are there any comments by the members of the board? Alderman Nguyen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, everyone. This morning, the Travis Outlaw Turkey Giveaway was held this morning at the Sportsplex. And myself, the mayor, and the vice mayor had an opportunity to go out and assist with that, whereas the rest of our board members, due to some scheduling conflicts, they couldn't be there. It was a very nice turnout, and it was organized so well. Mr. Peters, will you please stand up? I understand that the Outlaw family asked you to organize this, and considering that I had participated with it the first 2 years, I want to say thank you so much for the great job that you and your personnel at Parks and Recreation did to organize that event this morning. Thank you all. Okay. Ms. Gibson Gandy, I thank you for coming out. You and Mr. Ware were there this morning. Chief Yarborough, thank you so much. And Chief Nichols, there were so many of your personnel there, I don't think anybody else had needed to do anything. So thank you so much for sending your guys to help us out this morning. Okay. I want to make sure that I don't leave out anything. And I also want to thank Captains Ballard and Captain Outlaw were there this morning. So thank you so much. A person that I want to recognize tonight is Mrs. Honey, that everybody knows. Miss Honey, Miss Ann, will you bring Miss Honey up if you can for me? Board members and mayor, the last meeting that we had here 2 weeks ago, I told you all about this lady that they call Miss Honey. And Miss Honey, I want to say thank you so. That's okay, leave Miss Honey alone. Miss Honey, Miss Honey. Miss Honey, I want to say thank you so much for being such a great supporter of our Starkville Yellow Jackets. I understand that you have not missed a game in town, nor did you miss a game out of town, and you were certainly there at the state championship game because I saw you and came by and visited you that morning while you were getting ready to go to the game. I want to say thank you so much. Miss Ann, will you tell our board members about the medallion that's around Miss Honey's neck?
This is the 6th medallion that the high school football player was given. Man on the Mississippi High School activity board, he brought it up from Gulfport Saturday. He said she was down or yellow different thing. And she wants to go ahead. She wants to say something.
And of course, my name is Jesse Robinson, and I came here to tell good boys about the football boys and the coach. They played very good, and I had never missed a game. And the Lord has blessed me to see 95 years past it over. I've been probably game ever since my great-grandson playing T-ball. I had never missed a game. And last Friday night up that old bitch I win. And it was cold and I win. And I enjoyed it. They got the best coach in the United States.
Miss Honey, thank you so much. Now, I gave you a big bag of pecans from People Pecans today. So, listen, if you make some sweet potato pie, feel free to invite the board members and the mayor, and we'll come.
Thank y'all.
Thank you. And one more. Chief Yarborough, where's Chief Yarborough? Chief Yarborough, you can stand. Thank you so much for a great Christmas party that you and your personnel held on last Monday. Several of us was there. Your personnel did an outstanding job. I understand that they prepared the food all day long for us. So thank you so much. It was great to fellowship with you and your personnel and members of their family. Outstanding. And by the way, thank you so much for my gift. Okay. Mr. Mayor, I yield the floor at this time.
Further comments by the members of the board? Are there any further comments by the members of the board? Any further comments? Seeing none, we'll move to citizen comments. At this time, any citizen wishing to make comments may do so by coming forward, introducing yourself, and you'll be recognized to speak for a maximum of 3 minutes.
Winston Woodman, Avenue, Turner, Ward 7. I want to recognize Vice President
Thank you.
and Alderman Vaughn and Alderman Walker.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Citizens, that we have some problems that we need to check on. Yesterday, I was informed that we have a fire hydrant leaking on scale of Whitfield Street, Warden Street. One day a week garbage, all right, it's not gonna sit well with citizens because we'll be concerned about disease and health problems. Maybe for the young people, we can plan a trip to Parchment. Maybe if they see how Parchment is, maybe it'll help. Open the eye of young people. And I would like for the members of the police academy to stand with me. We are to try to help the chief keep peace in the city.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney. Further citizen comment?
Honorable Mayor Wiseman, members of the Board of Aldermen, it's a privilege for me to stand before you this evening. I rose to, I'm Harvey Gordon. I'm a deacon over at New Prairie Grove Missionary Baptist Church under the leadership of Reverend Pastor Sam Bond. I rose to make an appeal to the board in regards to a situation that I learned of on November 24th, unfortunate event in our city concerning one of our officers, or several of our officers. And what I want to recommend, hope that the Alderman would honor the support recommendation of Chief Nichols in regards to that incident.
Thank you, Mr. Gordon.
Thank you.
Further citizen comments?
Good evening, my name is Vanessa Miles Bush, and I'm speaking on behalf of my son that was involved in that incident. As we know, he didn't follow the procedures of the Starkville Police Department. And we're here to seek, expect justice to be served. Because what if he had been shot or killed? Just putting a gun on someone, it's not an easy thing. But since then, he's having trouble sleeping. We've been going to the doctor. Everything has changed. So we expect some justice to be served. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bush. Further citizen comments?
I'll say good evening to the board. My name is Marcus Bush, and Mr. O'Brien is my brother. I just want to know, do we shoot first and ask a question later? Do we shoot first and ask a question later? Because the situation he was put in, guy has no violence, no history of violence, probably even having a traffic ticket. We wasn't even raised up in that manner. For him to suffer and go through what he had to go through on the night of the 24th, and for the officer to be as arrogant as he was, that's a problem. It's a problem. I'm sure you all television work as well as mine. We see it in Ferguson. We see it in Columbus. We really don't want it in Starkville. We really don't. As my mother just alluded, he's not been able to really sleep. We're going to the doctor. We have the letter that the investigation was substantiated. Chief Ballard even insisted it could have been held in a better manner. So, like she just alluded, it really is a hard time right now. I heard y'all had the Christmas music playing, and I'm glad that you all in a good mood because the Miles and Bush family and O'Brien family is not. So we just expect justice to be served and it to be done in the right way. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bush. Further citizen comments?
My name is Walter O'Brien. I'm the victim who was in the incident. I'm sure you all watched it. Lately, it's been it took a toll on me mentally because, you know, you looking at a gun, you're not knowing it's gonna go off or what, like my brother said. You see it on TV, but you don't expect it in Starkville, not even to you. Like, you don't even know how that feels. So, I don't know, I just want justice to be served.
Thank you, Mr. O'Brien.
Mayor, fellow Aldermen, we just want you to do the right thing. You know, it's 7 of you. All 7 of you got voted in order to do the right thing, to make the tough decision. So you're gonna have the whole community looking at you when you take that vote in a couple of weeks. So make sure you do the right thing. We don't want to be like Columbus, find the police chief, say go to Alabama, wind up in Oxford somewhere. We want to be like Starkville. Keep it going. Keep the citizens happy. We keep police off our back because they give us great support. Because I need police when somebody kicking my door in. I need them all the time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor.
I'm Mr. Miles Jr., 1401 River Lane. And I want to say something about the way the meeting ended last time I was here. I want to thank you, Alderman Lady Wynn, for controlling the situation.
Thank you.
For telling my family, just hold on, I got something to tell you. Thank you, Chief, for coming and telling me something. I'm ashamed of you, board. And Mayor, you walked off the podium without telling my family anything.
Thank you, Mr. Miles.
Good evening. My name is Yolanda Hammond Walker. I am here to inform the city of Starkville and the county that I contacted the Justice Department on the Police Department and the Sheriff Department. And that's my comment.
Thank you, Ms. Walker.
To our mayor, board, Alderman. My name is Sam Bomber, and I pastor there at the Prairie Grove Baptist Church. And I just come tonight and just observe and I pray that whenever you make a decision, that y'all will do the right thing. And when you do what's right for the citizens of Starkville, it helps everyone. And one thing that we want out of the city is to have peace and understand what that is about. And when you do the right thing, right always follow. And I say just stick together, do what is right, and lead the city to a higher height. God bless.
Thank you, Pastor Bonner. Further citizen comment. Any further citizen comments? Any further citizen comments? Any further citizen comments? Seeing none, we'll move to public appearances. We have one public appearance tonight, and that is by Ms. Jamie Bachman from Volunteer Starkville. And Ms. Bachman, you'll have 10 minutes to make your presentation, and then I ask that you remain for any questions or comments from the members of the board.
Good evening, Mayor Wiseman and Board of Aldermen. Thank you for the opportunity just to come and update you on the services and events provided or coordinated by Volunteer Starkville during our 3rd and 4th quarters of the fiscal year 2015, which will cover May through October of 2015. Just kind of highlighting, I think I go right into our events every time and kind of not reiterate the purpose of our organization and why we're here in our community. As the Community Volunteer Center, we serve as a clearinghouse for volunteerism, connecting nonprofits with local residents, now in Clay, Oktibbeha, and Winston counties. We are one of 8 volunteer centers in the state of Mississippi. Obviously, my primary goal is to focus on my community, which is Oktibbeha County, where we are located. And Volunteer Mississippi has been trying to figure out how we can grow infrastructure for volunteerism in our state. So a secondary goal for me is figuring out how to grow volunteerism in the state in my service area. They've kind of extended requests to each of the volunteer centers to grow our service area, so we are expanding our services provided. So over this next year, I'm going to be working on reaching out to nonprofits in Clay County and Winston County and continuing our work here and growing the nonprofits in our area as well. Services for nonprofits include we can help them grow their volunteer programs, help recruit volunteers for those services that they provide, and provide their staff with free volunteer management and capacity building trainings throughout the year. As far as volunteers go, we help local residents find meaningful ways to give back to the community with local nonprofits by providing an ongoing menu of volunteer opportunities through our website and our online volunteer management system, volunteer calendar, a weekly volunteer newsletter, and social media outlets. So the newest thing with us is that we've expanded our service area to cover 3 counties, and the purpose of choosing Clay and Winston is simply because we were already servicing some nonprofits in those 2 counties, Winston Strong in Winston County and Sally Kate Winter's Family Services in Clay County. So, our first event of the 3rd quarter was our Healthier You Summer program. This is a program that is a project of our AmeriCorps Vista grant. Our AmeriCorps Vista Chad Walters is over this program and planning and implementing it. He actually expanded it this year, partnering with Brickfire Project, bringing in different guest speakers on the topics of financial literacy and health and nutrition, working with children from low-income families on Mondays and Wednesdays during June through the 2nd week of July. And then those kids got to go to a half-day summer camp, July 20th through the 24th at the Starkville Sportsplex, focusing on health and nutrition, financial literacy mainly. The Mentoring Matters Community Mentor Training, this is an annual training that we do in August, getting volunteers that are interested in becoming mentors trained and matched to local mentor programs at the beginning of the school year. The Maroon Volunteer Center hosts one in January to prepare for the spring semester if they didn't get involved in the fall. We had 20 total volunteers. 5 of those are skilled speakers on various topics of mentoring, and 15 mentors were matched at the end. Our First Responders Appreciation Day, we kind of rebranded this for the 9/11 Day of Service, and we hosted our very first Responders Appreciation Day event in partnership with the Maroon Volunteer Center and the Greater Starkville Development Partnership. Chief Yarborough was kind enough to work with us and help us plan this event at Fire Station Park. And all of our first responders had an invitation to come by and get a free meal. It also showcased our first responder units in the city and the county and engaged local community members with those. I can't remember his exact title, but Mr. Freddie, he's a police officer. He actually rode children around on the Segway, and they had a blast. So I think that was a great way to engage youth with the police officers, and hopefully the ones that engaged with those felt safe enough where if they were in trouble, they could reach out to them. Basically, that's just involving our community with the first responders and teaching our youth about them. Story time with local heroes. We had firemen and police officers read to kids from Emerson, serving those who serve us. We had volunteers dispersed at county fire stations, helping them clean up some different stations that needed attention. And then our first responder postcard service project. 3rd and 4th graders at Ward Stewart created custom postcards and wrote messages of thanks. All of our first responders in Ottawa County received one. A total of 747 volunteers engaged on this day of service, serving 701 service hours, and serving or engaging 1,835 community participants in our events. Make a Difference Day is always in October. With Mississippi State University, we have the challenge of weekend service projects. We have to make sure we don't plan them on a home game weekend. So although this is always traditionally done across the nation on the 4th Saturday of October, we plan this on October 30th. And we had a neighborhood food drive that benefited the Backpack Buddies program at First United Methodist Church. They send packages of food home with children that do not have enough to eat once they leave school for the weekend. Knoxville Wildlife Refuge, they have tons of volunteer needs, so we always try to send a group out there for a beautification project. And the Rock Hill Community Cemetery Advisory Board, we had a beautification group out there that helped clean up that cemetery for the fall. A total of 33 volunteers and 64.5 service hours. Total numbers served during our fiscal year, this is a comparison from fiscal year 2012 to 2015, but at the end of October 31st, we are serving 155 nonprofit organizations. I would say 90% of those are in Ottawa County. We've had 148 volunteer opportunities among those nonprofits posted on our website and promoted, helping recruit volunteers for those. We ourselves, through our events that Volunteer Starkville coordinated through this fiscal year, we engaged 3,172 volunteers. But a task of a community volunteer center is to produce a community volunteer report. And so I work with our local nonprofits, identifying how many volunteers served, how many hours were served. And so 23,386 volunteers served during this fiscal year. Those are not unique volunteers. The Corporation for Community Counts, Corporation for National Community Service, they report unique volunteers per month. So 5 volunteers at the Boys and Girls Club every month. For 12 months, I would be reported as 12 volunteers in this figure. Did you give me one more minute? Two. Okay. And so 23,386 volunteers reported among our nonprofit partners, serving 165,120 service hours. When you multiply that by the figure for Mississippi State value of volunteer time at $19.35 per hour, that's roughly $3.2 million that's been put back into our community through service. I think that's pretty impressive. That speaks to the givingness of our residents. We have a lot of service-minded people living in our community, and I'm really excited to be a part of it. Just coming up, we finished Family Volunteer Day, which November marked the beginning of our fiscal year 2016. We have the MLK Junior Day of Service coming up in January. We are working with a partnership with the NAACP and the university on those slate of events. We'll have National Volunteer Week coming up in April and Touch a Truck in April. That is all I have. If y'all know of anyone who's looking to volunteer, if you know of any other organizations that could use our services, please just connect them to me and I will help them to the best of my ability. Are there any questions?
Ms. Bachman, you are doing an excellent job, and this is work that really makes a difference in our community. So I'm really pleased that this board has supported your organization in the past, and I hope it will continue to do so in the future. Questions or comments from the members of the board? Alderman Wynn.
Thank you so much for the work that you do in our community. Thank you.
Any further questions or comments from the members of the board? Any further questions or comments? Seeing none. Thank you, Ms. Bachman.
Thank you, James.
All right. The next matter before us is the recognition of the football team. Coach Woods, Coach Smith. I don't know if we have any players with us tonight. Could y'all come forward? And I'd like to thank Alderman Wynn for organizing this. It's very important to us when you win a state championship to recognize you, because you do honor to the whole community, and we believe it's a community event. So we want to celebrate with you tonight. I'm going to read this resolution that our board has signed. This is a resolution declaring December 4, 2015 as Starkville Yellow Jackets football team day. Whereas the city of Starkville recognizes the tireless devotion, dedication, and commitment by the individual players of the Starkville Yellow Jackets football team, Coach Ricky Woods, the Starkville High School Athletic Department, the Starkville Yellow Jackets family and fans. Whereas the city of Starkville recognizes the extensive amount of athleticism and good sportsmanship exhibited by the Yellow Jackets football players in their December 4th, 2015, 27-7 win over the Petal Panthers of Petal, Mississippi at Bald-Headed Stadium in Oxford, Mississippi. Whereas the Yellow Jackets have won 2 titles in 4 seasons and 6 overall, winning 27 of the last 29 games they've played. Whereas the city of Starkville proudly acknowledges and congratulates each member of the Starkville High School football team for clinching the Mississippi High School Activities Association Class 6A state championship title. Therefore, be it resolved by the mayor and board of aldermen of the city of Starkville that December 4th, 2015 is Starkville Yellow Jackets football team day.
Mayor, may I be recognized?
You may.
Coach Woods and Athletic Director, Mr. Milton Smith, thank you all so much for coming tonight, and thank you again, and congratulations again.
Well, we appreciate it on behalf of the players, coaches, and administration of school and
Thank you.
Hey, Coach, I'm gonna have to agree with Miss Honey. I think we've got the best football coach in the United States of America.
We don't know a lot of people in Starkville. My wife has told me about her. My wife goes to every game, of course, and she told me there's an elderly lady, and she ever served. She said she comes to every ball game. That's good.
But she was right on the mark
She got a
tonight.
grandson play. I think Tyler Tobal plays. He's a good player. Good kid, too.
Yes, sir. Take care. The next matter before you is the consideration and review of the city's support and partnership in the application for the community-wide $600,000 EPA Coalition Assessment Grant with the Golden Triangle Planning and Development District. Discussion. This is intended to be a regional application for the assessment grant that we've had as a city for the last couple of years. It's a $600,000 application because it's region-wide. We will participate, if awarded, with the other cities and counties of the region, and it'll be facilitated by Golden Triangle Planning and Development District. It's a good opportunity to make our grant application more competitive, to clean up more brownfields in a larger area, and continue this program that's been a success for us. Motion has been made by Alderman Nguyen to approve the partnership and the application for a community-wide $600,000 EPA Coalition Assessment Grant with the Golden Triangle Planning and Development District as presented. Alderman Nguyen, is that your motion?
It is.
Do I hear a second? Second. Motion has been seconded by Alderman Little. Alderman Nguyen, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, I do not.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. The next matter on the agenda is appointments to various boards and commissions. You had 2 responses to your recent advertisement for vacancies on boards and commissions. And I believe that was Ruth Morgan for the Heritage Museum and Dennis Nordine for the Library Board.
Move approval.
Motion has been made by Alderman Little to approve of the reappointment of Miss Ruth Morgan to the Oktibbeha County Heritage Museum Board for a 3-year term, which will expire on September 30th, 2018, and Mr. Dennis Nordine to the Library Board of Trustees for a 5-year term, which will expire on September 30th, 2020. Alderman Little, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Walker. Alderman Little, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. Next matter before you is discussion of the Colonial Hills drainage pipe. There is a drainage pipe that runs right in between Colonial Hills subdivision and Timber Cove subdivision. It is a troubled pipe. You will probably have more trouble from this pipe in the future. We have had it studied in the past, in fact, to see what the hydrological impact of blockages in this pipe might be in the future, anticipating that there are going to be issues with it. The recommendation is to authorize up to $4,000 for an emergency repair of the pipe.
Move approval, Mr. Mayor.
Motion has been made by Alderman Little to approve of the repair of the Colonial Hill drainage pipe as presented. Alderman Little, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second? Motion has been seconded by Alderman Perkins. Alderman Little, do you wish to speak on the merits?
Yes, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Saying none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. The next matter before you is a discussion and consideration of approval to hire a temporary receptionist for the main lobby. Motion has been made by Alderman Maynard to approve of hiring a temporary receptionist for the main lobby as presented. Alderman Maynard, is that your motion? Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Little, or Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Maynard, you wish to speak on the merits? No, sir. Discussion. Alderman Walker.
I'm certainly for this. I would like just a little bit of explanation of why we're needing this, this temporary worker for the front. One of our workers through the Experience Work program is ill, and we need more. The Experience Works workers are part-time, and they have hours capped, so if we're to have full coverage at that desk while that employee is ill, then we need temporary staff support. Thank you.
Further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Saying none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. A motion clearly passes. Next matter on the agenda is a report and update on findings of the traffic study by Neil Schaefer, Saunders Ramsey, Terry Kemp, and Edward Kemp.
Good evening, Mayor and Board. First of all, just thank you for this opportunity. Wanted to kind of, I guess, come back to y'all with a midway point report on where we are with this project. And as many of y'all know, this project was approved by the board as part of the last capital improvement project. But really, kind of the history of it goes back a little bit further than that, because one of the things Alderman Little first talked about when coming on for this administration, he talked about the traffic flow on South Montgomery and what are some ideas and options on ways to improve it. And of course, also talking with Alderman Walker, and then also having some discussions with Alderman Nguyen specifically about the light there at Lynn and Louisville Street, which is also a little bit of an issue. So what we determined is a lot of the signals and controllers we have are not only outdated, but probably do not reflect the current traffic flow, because that changes on a constant basis based on where development patterns are. Even school, changing school times. I know Starkville High recently changed their time when they start to a little bit later, and that'll change the traffic flow some. So we wanted to go back and first and take a look at the overall timings of what the signals in those roadways are currently experiencing. And the peak hours are typically in the morning and the afternoon. So this is just kind of a little bit of a timeline. The board approved the plan. Shortly thereafter, we hired Neil Schaefer to do the timing signal report. And in that, we had to collect data for each of the 10 intersections that we evaluated. That data was collected over a 12-hour period from Tuesday to Thursday, not during a holiday. It should be a typical day. We reviewed a draft in August, but we had to go back because there was a few things that were outliers in the report that didn't look right, so we went back and collected some additional data and incorporated that into the final report, which Saunders, I'm going to turn it over to him now, is going to present, and then Terry is going to talk a little bit about the implementation going forward. Thank you. My name is Saunders Ramsey with Neil Schaefer. We had an opportunity to participate in this report, and kind of wanted to give you an idea behind the purpose, kind of reiterate what Edward is saying, is the goal is to kind of look at the South Montgomery corridor, to ways to improve it, bring it up to date, but also to look at adjacent side streets and see how that may impact the corridor. Those side streets being the Blackjack intersection and then Louisville Street. Really try to get an overall picture of the area. As you can see here, we looked at 10 intersections very quickly. Louisville Street and Yellow Jacket Drive, and then Louisville Street at Millsaps, Louisville Street at Lynn Lane, Academy Road at Louisville, Academy Road entrance to South Montgomery, Academy Road intersection, South Montgomery Street at Lynn Lane, South Montgomery Street at Loxley Way at Lincoln Green, and then Blackjack Road in Loxley. Before I go any further, my staff that participated in this study, it was obvious pretty early on that the city staff does a very good job at taking care of the signals that they have with the current technology that they have. So just kudos to Mr. Kemp and Jason Horner and staff on doing that with what they have to work with. Take that a step further, it was obvious that some of the technology is outdated, and that's something that we addressed. So the goal here was to really adapt to the current needs, but also to look forward and to prepare yourself for future needs. As we know, traffic will continue to evolve. Our goal is to prepare you with recommendations for potential future improvements. I'm going to go through each intersection and the recommendations very quickly. As always, if questions are had, I'll be able to answer those. The recommendations that the city staff and this report came to at Louisville Street and Yellow Jacket Drive. The cabinet itself is out of date and needs to be updated. Also, there's some crosswalk and striping and some crosswalk signals from a pedestrian standpoint that need to be looked at. Louisville Street and Lynn Lane, again, the cabinet needs upgraded. You're going to see that a lot. It also, the timing at Louisville Street and Lynn Lane is a significant, needs to be improved only because of the way traffic patterns have evolved. There's also some signal head replacements that'll be taken care of there. We see this, the phasing adjustment making a significant impact at this intersection. Louisville Street at Academy Road, again, slight timing adjustments, cabinet upgrade, also some vehicle detection improvements are recommended there, along with signal head replacements. South Montgomery and Academy Road, just some maintenance issues there to address. The tether wires need to be replaced. You'll see another cabinet upgrade. And then you start to discuss about interconnection with Lynn Lane and Loxley Way. The recommendation here is that make sure that the cabinet that you install prepares you to allow further intersections to communicate together so that they can adjust interactively.
As you get to that intersection, mentioning that, did you look further down South Montgomery to the flow? I guess my question is there any signaling needed further down South Montgomery, or was that part of this study?
So part of this study was strictly to analyze the existing signals. I know there's some data that's been collected in the past on traffic flow in the area down South Montgomery that could probably be reviewed again, but that was not part of this study.
Thank you.
South Montgomery and Lynn Lane, signal head replacements recommended, same thing, the interconnection recommendation so that those signals can communicate, especially during peak hours, and adjust accordingly. Pavement markings were a recommendation. Actually, if you go out there today and see part of the Lynn Lane sidewalk project address some of those, so you'll actually see some of those already in place. South Montgomery and Loxley Way, some maintenance issues with tether wires and signage. There's some signage there that needs to be addressed. City staff's very aware of that and how we want to adjust those. Cabinet upgrades and signal head replacements. Loxley Way and Lincoln Green, as a part of this entire study, we looked at a signal warrant analysis. That basically means based off the turning movements and traffic flow, is the signal warranted? And in this case, the signal was not warranted. So the recommendation of the report is to remove the signal, also to improve striping to reflect that removal.
Do you have some of the traffic counts at all handy on that?
So all the traffic counts are part of the report. That report is online and can be reviewed with city staff or the public.
Thank you.
I meant to mention that at the beginning. It is on the city's website, the first page, kind of near the bottom. It's about 200 pages long, so you can get as deep into the details as you like. So Loxley Way and Blackjack Road, some striping improvements are needed there. The big takeaway here is that the right turn onto Blackjack Road needs to have detection so that that signal triggers a stop in traffic, so that that right turn has a gap so that they can enter traffic on Blackjack Road. I feel like intersection 10 could be a significant improvement on that corridor. Yes?
Where exactly is that?
So the intersection of Loxley Way and Blackjack Road. So if you pass the veranda headed east, and you come to Blackjack Road, there's a dedicated right-hand turn. One of the most interesting things the report or the study found was that the way that detection is done, I don't want to get too far in the weeds, but the way that detection is done, early in the mornings and late in the afternoons, it's never detected for that signal to ever turn red for the Blackjack Road traffic. So it's hard for traffic to find a gap to enter off of Loxley Way, which leads to backing up down Loxley, which leads to backing up down Montgomery.
I think with all that apartment construction down there, that, you know, most of the congestion issues are gonna be down around the gas station, but I think, I guess that would be our first light into town, so I think probably gonna double or triple in the traffic count over the next couple of years, but.
Yeah,
I think,
good, yeah.
no, I was saying, do you
Sorry,
think
Ron.
that's something that needs to be done relatively, or pretty quickly because of that traffic count that's fixing to potentially double?
Yeah, I think so, and Mr. Kemp will go over this in a second, but I think the one thing I applaud the city staff on is some of these phasing timings have already been implemented. Some of the striping's already been done, part of the Lynn Lane, the cabinets, and he'll go into this a little bit later. There's a plan already in place which he'll present to you guys, but that's an easy fix, and I feel like it'll make a significant improvement in that area.
I guess that's gonna be my question at the end. If you had to rate any of these, which one would be number one, number two? That's number one.
I'd say if South Montgomery's your corridor and you want to improve each side of that to help South Montgomery, I'd say the Louisville Street and Lynn Lane is an easy fix, and I'd say that Blackjack and Loxley is an easy fix.
Thank
you. If there's any questions, obviously I'm here to answer, but I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Kent to talk about the next steps.
And my intent here is just kind of give you a breakdown of each intersection, realizing that we had a certain amount of dollars, and our intent was in a collaborative effort to really take the engineering studies that were done based on the current traffic flows, but to maximize the benefit short-term and build a platform that we can grow with as we use our dollars. And so if you look down our sheet, as we've identified, as Saunders talked about, all 10 intersections, each one is itemized. As he said earlier, the larger numbers, you can count those, are primarily tied to cabinet upgrades, controls. That's where some of the expense is going to be. There is communication we built, and we talked a little bit about that, is a first step of trying to tie in some of the signals to begin communicating, kind of as a phase one. But we also were planning on having capabilities, and Jason, I do think, does an excellent job. He manages our street light system. We have 50 over the entire city, but what we're trying to do with this capability is to have communications that allows remote monitoring and some minor changes as we go through all of these is implemented, realizing that, as was said earlier, changes do occur with time. Something will happen, and hopefully we can be a little bit quicker and more responsive when those situations do come up. So communications is an important part of it. Rather than going down, like you say, 40,000 in phase one, each one of those are broken down by equipment, materials. Some of it deals with our striping, but kind of give you a feel of where we feel like that money can best be spent to reach the objectives we talked about earlier. From a timing standpoint, we're constantly monitoring the I guess the timing part of it, trying to get a better feel for that. We have made some adjustments based under what the studies reflect, and some of those are already beginning to show up, we think is a positive. Y'all would continue to monitor that. So timing is something we're in place, but cabinets, assuming the board moves forward with this tonight, that is the long ticket item. Generally from the time it's ordered, time it's manufactured, you're talking about 12 weeks to get those in place. We've been working very closely with our supplier, which is part of our source supply, to make sure that it gets into sequence as quick as we can and treat this as a priority. So I'd say 12 weeks is kind of the outside. All of the other equipment that's inside, probably we're talking about a month delivery, and then it'll be just as, primarily we're going to be using the existing staff to install this with support from with Temple, who is the main manufacturer for the equipment. So I think the question was try to keep it within the budget. We feel like that's definitely realistic there, and time frame that should all be completed and in place within that first quarter of next year, assuming we start today. Let me just stress too, you will start seeing incremental changes on it. We're talking about the entire change because to make it all work, clearly the recommendation would be to replace the cabinets and then completely upgrade those systems. Yes, sir.
Saunders, do you feel pretty confident this is going to help relieve some congestion in those peak hours?
I really do. Taking a stab at this without a report, without the numbers to back it up, you might say, well, I hope it works. But to really see the numbers, to run the scenarios with the new timing, the new infrastructure in place, is pretty eye-opening, honestly. So yes, I do feel confident.
Any further questions? Okay, Alderman Walker.
Thank y'all for doing this work. I think this is a path forward for helping improve traffic, make our traffic flow more effective in those corridors. You had mentioned that this would allow us to potentially upgrade. So we know that that MDOT is doing a study on Highway 12, looking at a safety study, likely to be replacing or updating those lights. We know that MSU is also doing a traffic study looking at how to deal with their signalization. So as those things move forward, is the implementation of the things that we're doing right now, is that going to allow us to grow with that system so in the future we could be able to communicate with the Highway 12 corridor?
From an equipment, that was one of the main considerations. We wanted to buy cabinets and controllers, equipment that could be upgraded, so we didn't have to go back and replace it in the future. Just to your point, anticipating there would be some changes as we go forward, and we'd have the capabilities of adding without replacing or redoing, I guess.
And if I could tag on that, Alderman Walker, I'm sure you're aware that Mississippi State has experienced some traffic congestion, as Alderman Carver alluded to earlier, especially on the east part of the campus coming through on Blackjack and Stone. And really, all of this works in concert with one another. If we look at them as two individual, as well as MDOT on 12, if you look at them as individual operating standalone units, they're not going to work as efficiently as what they would if they're all communicating and synced up together. So that is the ultimate long-term goal, is to have a system that is most efficient for everybody.
Yep. Alderman Little.
I appreciate you guys' time and effort and energy you put into this over the last several months. I know you've been working on it for a long time, and I commend you on the presentation you made tonight. It was concise and straightforward. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Mr. Mayor, based on the recommendation of staff and the study that they presented tonight, I move approval to authorize staff to proceed with the modification and improvement of the signals outlined as presented by city staff, and to purchase the needed equipment, materials, and technical support from the City of Starkville source supply list and the state purchasing and procurement procedures in an amount not to exceed the remaining budgeted amount for this project.
Motion has been made by Alderman Little to approve the authorization of staff to proceed with the modification or improvement of the signals outlined as presented by the city staff, and to purchase the needed equipment, materials, and technical support from the City of Starkville's source of supply list and the state purchasing and procurement procedures in an amount not to exceed the remaining budgeted amount for this project. Alderman Little, is that your motion?
It is.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Little, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No.
Discussion. Any discussion? Alderman Vaughn.
What is the budget amount left? Remain the budget amount, how much is it?
It's, Alderman, it's approximately $190,000. The total budget for the entire project was $200,000.
Further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Saying none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes. The next matter before you is an update on the Family Dollar construction site. Mr. Sanders?
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Board of Aldermen.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Senator.
Update on the Family Dollar. The city's hired a contractor to remove brush and cut the grass. That's been completed. The applicant has submitted a site plan that matches the approved site plan. However, there was a slight change in the underground water retention facilities, which is being reviewed by the engineering department, and the engineering department is awaiting water flow calculations. We are hoping to meet with the construction foreman at the site sometime this week. We're waiting for an appointment with him. So that is the status of the Family Dollar construction site at this time.
Alderman Perkins.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to take this very unique opportunity to commend Mr. Buddy Sanders, our Community Development Director, after the board had very two involved discussions with you about that, Mr. Sanders. And we last met on December 1, 2015, and that was, of course, on a Tuesday, and 2 days thereafter, that December 3, 2015, and that Friday, December 4, 2015, you had the group out there getting that done. So I think you deserve a very good public acknowledgement for your hard work on that, and it looks really, really good compared to where it was, and the constituents and other taxpayers are very appreciative. So I want to thank you again for all that hard work.
Thank you for your support.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Sanders. The next matter before you is the discussion and consideration of, I'm sorry, I almost skipped it. Discussion and consideration of a resolution prohibiting the leasing and or renting of the new city hall to third parties. Alderman Nguyen.
Thank you so much. Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the board, I have a resolution that I'll be reading. After I've read the resolution, I will read a motion relevant to it. A resolution of the City of Starkville, Mississippi, establishing a policy for use of City Hall meetings space by third parties. Where Starkville's Mayor and Board of Aldermen finds as follows: that the new City Hall located at 110 West Main Street was constructed to contain various meeting spaces for city employees and representatives to conduct city business. That the meeting spaces in City Hall were not constructed or intended to be rented out to third parties. That the City Hall contains sensitive information and materials relating to the operation of the City Clerk's Office, the Municipal Court, the Mayor's Office, and other city departments. That renting out the meeting spaces in City Hall to third parties exposes the city to potential property damage and security breaches and undercuts the city's ability to safeguard its documents and materials. And that the city provides other meeting spaces outside of City Hall that may be rented by third parties and that are appropriate for that use. Now therefore, the City of Starkville, through its Mayor and Board of Aldermen, hereby resolve that A, the city shall not rent or donate meeting space in City Hall for use by third parties. B, the city may, however, conduct meetings involving third parties in City Hall, but those meetings shall be organized by the city, participated in by the city, and for specific furtherance of city business. The motion is this: move approval of the resolution of the City of Starkville, Mississippi, establishing a policy for use of City Hall space by third parties, with said resolution reduced to writing and read for the record.
Motion has been made by Alderman Nguyen to approve of the resolution of the City of Starkville, Mississippi, establishing for use of City Hall space by third parties with said resolution reduced to writing and read for the record. Alderman Nguyen, is that your motion?
It is.
Do we hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Perkins. Alderman Nguyen, do you wish to speak on the merit?
No, I do not.
All right, prior to opening the floor for comments from the board, I'm going to make some comments. I believe very, very strongly that this facility that it needs to be publicly accessible. In fact, one of its primary purposes is to be publicly accessible. This is the most prominent public building in the city. It is our public square. Now, public accessibility extends further than having board meetings, municipal court, and issuing building permits. Public accessibility encompasses the broader public. That means we have meeting space here that certainly was designed with outside meeting in mind. I can tell you from having been a part of the process from the time where we were reviewing floor plans, thought was given to how public organizations might use this space when it's not otherwise being utilized for city business. And that's as it should be. This should be a space where volunteer organizations, civic groups, political organizations, garden clubs, anybody with a public interest ought to be able to come in and use these facilities. In fact, I think all of those things are a vital part of city government, a city, and a community. Now, the title of this resolution is a little bit misleading because this is not a resolution establishing a policy for use by third parties. This is a resolution eliminating the possibility of use of this building by third parties. And as such, I am strongly opposed to it. Since this matter has come to my attention, I have done some checking to see what other organizations do. What I have found is there's just not a lot of existing policy out there, but there's a lot of existing use. The county courthouse is used from time to time by third-party organizations. In fact, there are some third-party organizations that have standing, regular, after-hours meetings in the county courthouse. The Greater Starkville Development Partnership, which is a private organization, that's our chamber organization, has public usage of their meeting spaces in that building. They have not previously had a policy, but in fact, that space has been so utilized in my conversation with partnership CEO Jennifer Gregory. She informed me that she is in the process of drafting a use policy for that organization. In the past, their policy has been to work to accommodate groups that wanted to use the space. I also spoke with the mayor of Columbus, and Columbus does not have a formal policy on how their spaces are utilized either. But the mayor did inform me that he works to accommodate groups that want to utilize the space either in the municipal complex or in his office space in City Hall. Furthermore, he shared with me that he was excited about the renovations of his City Hall and that it would include a meeting room that could provide space for up to 75 people, and he hoped that would be space that would be utilized. I can identify with the mayor of Columbus's excitement because there were many times in looking at the layout of our large meeting room space upstairs when I was very excited, not just about what that would provide for our city departments, but what that would provide as a potential public meeting space. Now, I don't have an issue at all with establishing terms and conditions as to how space might be utilized in the building. And I've taken the liberty of trying to draft a start on that. What I did actually was I looked at what the state capital policy is. The Mississippi Capitol is accessible and open to the public. And I believe if the state of Mississippi can open its most prominent building to 3 million Mississippians, surely we can open our most prominent public building to 25,000 Starkvillians. So what I did is I took the pertinent part of the reservation policy for the Mississippi State Capitol, and I modified it to work with space that I would like for us to have available at the city. I have not shared that across the board, but I would offer that as a place to start a discussion on a policy. However, I would urge you not to adopt this policy, which would preclude use of this building by third parties, and I think that would be a shame. I've got Alderman Carver, then Alderman Wynn.
Who owns this building?
The taxpayers of the city of Starkville.
Is this not West Brothers Construction, or is it?
Well, actually, for 20 years, Golden Triangle Public Buildings Corporation owns the building, and the city leases the building from them. But
So we don't own this building, though. I'm saying that from a property damage standpoint, I would think that the owner of a car, even if it was getting leased to another individual, they're the ones that's usually listed as a name insured. So with that being said, I understand the situation, but I think that they should have some kind of vested say in this as to what they think, since they actually own the property that could be potentially damaged by a third party. I understand though, as a city that we run it like it's ours, and as you do your home, as you mortgage your home, you still act like it's your home.
And we have the insurance on it, but
yeah,
certainly, but including them in the conversation
Well, what have they said about after hours rental to third parties? Have they been brought into the discussion?
No, they're not generally involved in the operation of the building.
City attorney, do they need to be involved?
No, they're basically a pass-through financial entity that was created to allow the financial arrangement to take place to build this building. So they don't have any active management role in the building.
So anything that we decide tonight, whether it be to limit third-party rental of the space or to not limit or to not allow it, is accessible either way and legally binding?
I think the board has discretion to act either way tonight. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Alderman Webb.
Thank you, Mayor. Council, could unfettered access to City Hall place us in legal jeopardy? Please answer that in the affirmative, yes or no.
Potentially, depending upon what might be stumbled upon from sensitive document standpoint or election material standpoint, or there's a number of fact patterns that could come into play.
Council, there are a total of 12 executive session items that, as an alderman, that we can enter into executive session. I'm going to move this into executive session based on security.
Well, then the appropriate thing to do would be to move a motion, and
Okay,
then we'll see if there's,
Okay.
and there doesn't need to be a second for closed session, so we'll have a vote on that and go in closed session, and then the vote on executive session.
Mayor, I move that we move into executive session based on a security measure.
Motion has been made by Alderman Wynn to go into a closed session to determine whether there's a need for an executive session. Alderman Wynn, is that your motion?
Yes, it is.
Do I hear a second? Do I hear a second?
Second.
All right,
Just for the motion to go into closed session.
all right, so do I need a vote on
We need
this?
a vote on it, yeah.
All right, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand.
Has there been a second?
The city attorney says a second is not needed.
It's that quirk in the law, Vice Mayor, it's technically not
I
needed.
understand. Mayor may recognize.
No, we've got to get through the vote. All those in favor of the motion to go into closed session, please signify by raising your hand. All those opposed, please signify by raising your hand. By a vote of 1 in favor and 6 against, this motion fails. Alderman Wynn, you still have the floor.
I had hoped that I wouldn't have to discuss this publicly because I'm very concerned because it jeopardizes our employees, us when we're in here. At present, this building does not have any type of security system, nor does it have any type of security cameras. I'm very concerned about the safety of our employees that are in here in the daytime. Many transactions involving monies are made. We are here. Granted, we have our chief of police here with us at night, but during the day, unlike the Capitol at Mississippi where they have law enforcement, they don't have any here in this building during the daytime. I'm very concerned about that from a security standpoint. I'm hoping that the board will embrace this. We need to embrace this tonight. I yield the floor at this time.
All right, Alderman Perkins, do you still wish to have the floor?
No, I just wanted the floor to speak against going into closed executive session.
All right. Alderman Carver.
Was it a generally accepted practice to allow these rentals in the prior city hall?
Yes, as a matter of fact, we had a church group that rented the old city hall and for a period of time held Sunday school classes in the old city hall.
My second question was, you know this building better than I do. So if there was a rental in this room or something, and are the employees' offices, is each and every one able to be locked down? And secondly, are there, like your office suite and places like that, is everything, would you feel secure if somebody were to go through the building and look, and are they going to be able to access sensitive data, or is that?
Yeah, let me go through the mechanics of what I've drafted. The places I've addressed and what I've drafted are the lobby and the outdoor plaza. And again, that was very much designed with the idea of that being public space and the opportunity to have something that could be held both in and extending outside of the building there. That's all completely securable.
So basically,
these doors to the courtroom lock, and the doors to all the offices upstairs lock. So you could have use of the lobby space, both upstairs and downstairs, and the front plaza, and essentially have access only to that. The large meeting room upstairs, all the offices around it are securable. You do have 2 open desks that are out. I would not advise ever having anybody up after hours without a city staff person here. I would further advise if a city staff person is here with a group, the group that's here after hours should pay for that city staff person to be here. And the policy that I've drafted that addresses those 2 spaces, making them spaces generally available to the public, I've got a 2-layered process. If it's during city working hours and it doesn't conflict with city business, it can be booked administratively. For after hours, everything would have to come before the board. So much like a special event application, you would get a description of what the request is and what the terms would be for how a city staff person here is to have it secured.
let's say there was a function, a gathering that was going to be on the outside, and they needed to basically use the lobby to sit up and maybe to have restroom access. Is the elevator out here, can you lock it where it can't go up and down? Are there stairs right by the elevator as well?
Stairs and elevator, yeah.
So basically, even if you lock the elevator down, they can still get to the stairs to the second floor. And where,
But you can lock, you've got the main doors at the top of the second floor.
That's my question. I would feel much more comfortable knowing that after hours, let's say there's a band playing out on the plaza, that, you know, I feel more comfortable from a security standpoint knowing they basically have the lobby if they need to come in and use the restroom or set up food or something like that, and then outside. I don't feel comfortable knowing that there could be somebody that was basically wandering around the city hall.
Right.
With offices locked or not.
Right.
But you're saying there's capabilities to basically shut down right now without security systems or cameras, everything down to the front lobby, right outside these doors, and outside.
Front lobby, and then you'd have the upstairs lobby as well. You'd lock this set of double doors, and you'd lock the double doors into the office portion of the second floor of the building.
Thank you.
Alderman Little.
You'd mentioned someone coming up here after hours, but they would be paid by?
They would be paid by the group booking it. And again, all I've got is
So we would be directing them to be up here, but they're being paid by an independent group. And how would workers' comp apply? There's a whole lot of, I think.
No, they'd be paid by us.
Paid by
We
us,
would just
we're
assess the cost to the group. We would take any and all costs. And again, we'd prepare this just like we prepare a special event, where we prepare all the costs to the city for keeping a space open in the building. And if it was as I am recommending it, that would go before the board, and the board could approve or not approve those terms.
And this individual would be adding additional duties, would be looking at a 10% pay increase also?
No, I don't.
That's to me after, you know.
I don't envision anybody's job description changing. I would envision asking qualified city employees if they wanted to come in for potential overtime opportunity. And we have plenty of individuals that could do that. We do this currently with our park system. We have facilities that are available after hours, and when one of the rooms at the park system is booked after hours, one of the costs that the organization pays is they pay the cost for the employee and any overtime to be there. Alderman Carter.
If it comes to a vote tonight, I'll just let you know, I feel comfortable with a vote that will basically allow what we discussed, the lobbies and the outside access. That could be a potential revenue stream for the city, and by accident or design, whether you like it or not, that's a very nice area out there where the Christmas tree is, and very visible. And just like we've often done things down at Cadence Bank, and you know, you have bands playing in different groups throughout the city from time to time have used that, and then those functions turn out very nice, and they do, and they're nice, and that could be yet another area in this city to have some downtown functions. And so I am comfortable with that vote. I am, however, not comfortable with a vote that would allow people to come, you know, basically anywhere in the building other than that first and second lobby and the outside, and using those as rental spaces.
All right, I've got Walker and then Wynn. Alderman Walker.
I agree with what Alderman Carver just said. I think it's important that, one, that we have some type of policy in place for how we're going to control access and who has access to the building. I'm not as comfortable with having an absolute of saying that nobody can use this building. I think this is something that, for me, seems like it's being rushed to the forefront, because we had a group that was looking to be here, and now it seems like we're sort of putting something together, both from the mayor's potential policy to what's been presented tonight by Alderman Wynn. I don't see any reason to rush this. I would like for us to not take any action tonight. Let's wait. We're going to meet again in a few weeks. Let's take another look at this point and see if there is a way to allow this, because this is the citizens building. I do believe that the primary function of this building is to conduct city business. If it is possible to allow third-party involvement while city staff is here, I think that is something that we should certainly look at. So I would like for us to just hit the brakes on this a little bit, to see what the mayor has presented and other board members to potentially have a say of how we draft that policy. I think what is clear is that we definitely need a policy for looking at the use of this building. I'm not sure what's been presented tonight is the best answer long term. I think it eliminates a lot of potential good use for good civic-minded organizations that have a vested interest in improving how our city functions to take part in this building. So I would like for us to just hold up a little bit and look at how we draft a policy that might get us to where we need to go. Because I do agree that we don't need unfettered access to every part of this building. I agree that that is absolutely an issue. But I also believe that not allowing anybody to use this building is also an issue. I believe there's a common ground that can be reached right there that allows this great public space to be used for public accessibility outside of typical board meetings.
Further discussion, Alderman Wynn.
Mayor, and let me say this, no disrespect to you, Alderman Carter. If you've ever been through this building, there are no available restrooms that are located here on this first floor. You would have to go upstairs or use the elevator to go upstairs to the restroom. When you enter into the double doors, there's an area where Mr. St. Louis' desk is located. He's actually not in an office. There could be sensitive materials at Mr. St. Louis's desk. The mayor's secretary desk, she's exposed because there's actually not an office there. So they would have to be in those areas after hours. This is a measure that I'm comfortable with. I'm not going to table it. I think that we need to vote on it tonight, and I'm prepared to do so. I yield the floor.
Alderman Mayor.
Mr. Sanders, excuse me, Alderman Wynn, aren't there restrooms in the lobby?
Yes, sir.
There are restrooms in the lobby.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I just want to make sure, because I thought there were right there. I support Alderman Walker's and Alderman Carver's recommendation for utilizing the building in that space outside, but I agree with Alderman Walker. I don't support it tonight because I don't think we're ready to take this up, not only from a policy standpoint, but just from an implementation standpoint. Before we could rent that plaza out front, we're gonna have to have an understanding of how we're gonna control the traffic flow. When we did the dedication of the building, we blocked off traffic right here to keep it from rolling through. You come around that corner next to the real estate agency, it's a blind corner coming around there. So there's some safety concerns there that we would have to talk to Chief of Police about and address how we would divert traffic, with the understanding that the Methodist Church may be having a function as well. And once you get into their parking lot, it's one way this direction. So I agree with Alderman Walker. I don't think we're ready yet to adopt any policy from this issue or from a security issue of the internal building. So I would be in favor of tapping the brakes on this as well.
Further discussion. Alderman Carver.
I move to table this issue.
Motion has been made by Alderman Carver to table the main motion made by Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Carver, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Little. Motion is not debatable. All those in favor of a motion to table, please signify by raising your hand. All those opposed, please signify by raising your hand. By a vote of 4 in favor with 3 against, motion to table passes. The next matter on the agenda is the discussion and consideration of an appointment to the Municipal Airport Board.
So moved.
Let me get to my appointment. Who is the appointment? Somebody tell me.
Mr. Richardson. Mr. Richardson.
Motion has been made to reappoint Mr. Jimmy Richardson to the Municipal Airport Board for a 3-year term, which will expire December 31st, 2018. Alderman Walker, is that your motion?
Yes.
Do I hear a second?
Second?
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Walker, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No.
Further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. Next matter on the agenda is a discussion and consideration of the approval of a revised City Hall parking plan. And let me make a comment prior to turning the floor over to Alderman Maynard to introduce it. This is an opportune time to brief the board that the parking, the striping pattern on the street has changed slightly. You have parallel spaces that are scheduled to be striped now at the top of West Main Street because that is the side that is directly across our parking underneath the building. And after having it angled for a few days, determination was made that it just was too tight of a fit for it to be angled. So everything else is as you previously approved it, and it's not striped yet. So if you would like to change it back to angled, you certainly may. But the city engineer has consulted with both Alderman Vaughn, who's the alderman for this ward, and me, and we both agreed that the parallel parking scheme was more practical than the angular parking scheme. Alderman Maynard.
Thank you, Mayor. Just like the previous motion and moving into this new building, I think we're all experiencing a little growing pains and trying to get it set in the best possible way to function. When we voted to designate parking spaces previously, we did so, and as court has progressed and things have happened, we realized that there is a need for us to designate 2 parking spaces downstairs to be reserved for law enforcement officers only for prisoner transport to and from court. It's really just a safety issue more than anything else, and a containment issue for prisoners. So with that, Mayor, I would move approval to revise the ground level parking at City Hall to designate city parking spaces 19 and 20, and the map was included in the packet, as reserved parking for law enforcement officers, prisoner transport as presented.
Motion has been made by Alderman Maynard to revise the ground level parking at City Hall to designate city parking spaces 19 and 20 as reserved parking for law enforcement officers, prisoner transport as presented. Alderman Maynard, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Walker. Alderman Maynard, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Discussion.
Mayor, before we take this up, may I be recognized?
You may.
Mr. Sanders, will you please come forward? Mr. Sanders, 2 meetings ago, the board took up to approve two parking spaces. What numbers are those parking spaces?
There approved 2 parking spaces, or you're talking about the adjustment to add 2 to 9?
No, the first 2 that we approved along with the judge parking space.
First 2 parking spaces?
Yes.
First 2 parking spaces, if you face the elevator, the first to the left, first space was going to be for the municipal judge, and then the second space going counterclockwise was for elected officials.
Now, let me ask you this. At this time, have those parking spaces that have been reserved, have those been marked yet?
No, they have not.
Okay. Since the board approved that, why is it that you have not marked those parking spaces?
And that this issue was going to come before the board.
Okay. I know that this issue was going to come before the board, but did anyone tell you not to mark those parking spaces because this issue was going to come?
No, it just was more efficient to order all the signs at one time than.
Let me ask this question. Did any alderman instruct you not to mark those parking spaces because he may have been bringing forward the measure for tomorrow?
I was not giving any type of order not to order the signs, but I was told that this issue was coming back before the board.
Okay, so you were told not to mark the spaces because this issue was coming before the board?
I was told I was told that this issue would be coming back before the board, but I chose not to order the signs.
So you chose not to order the sign because an alderman told you that he was going to bring 2 more parking spaces before the board.
That is correct.
But the board had given the directive to go ahead and reserve those 3 parking spaces for the judge and 2 elected officials. Am I correct?
That is also correct. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Let me say this for the record. No alderman has the authority to direct you in any kind of way to go against the wishes of the board.
Yes, ma'am.
That is something that I know. As a matter of fact, before we moved over here to this building, I had a conversation with Mr. Howland. It was regarding minimizing and relaxing our landscape ordinance. And I knew then, and did it anyway, that I cannot direct it. And I'm going to tell you now, no alderman, and I will not call his name tonight, but no alderman has the authority to tell you that. So I want to say thank you so much. If the board embraces it, you and the rest of the department heads need to follow the board's measures that have been adopted. You all will get briefed on those every Wednesday after the department head meetings. Should this happen again, I'm going to move it into executive session, and it'll be a personnel matter. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor of Alderman Maynard's motion, is that correct? Is it Alderman Maynard? Please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. The next matter on the agenda is the discussion and consideration of the PP 15-18 request by Jason Pepper for preliminary plat approval for subdividing and replatting 4 parcels. Mr. Sanders, would you like to introduce?
PP 15-18, it's a request for preliminary plat. You've already introduced it, I'll just jump right into it. This is a request to basically subdivide and replat 4 existing parcels into 3 new parcels. I've kind of color-coded the parcels that we're going to be speaking of. Just to orient you to the area, this is Highway 12. This is Stark Road, Walmart's right here. This is Pepper's Deli, AT&T store right here, and My Used Car Lots right here. Currently, there are 4 parcels. All of them are zoned C2. As you can see from the image on the right, sort of the property lines were well defined. The Pepper's parcel, the building actually sits on one parcel, the parking lot on another. The drive that is in between that and AT&T is part of the parcel the parking lot's in. Part of the AT&T store is in that parcel also. The building itself sits on this larger parcel in some of its parking lot, and then we have a landlocked parcel over here. As part of this plan, the Pepper's parcel and the land in front of it will become Lot 3. The little bit that's in the parking lot of the AT&T store will become Lot 2. This drive, the parcel to the east, and the large parcel will become Lot 1. The proposed parcel will have a combined acreage of 9.79 acres. The individual acreages of the proposed parcel, Lot 1, as I mentioned, is the large one, will be 8.4 acres. Lot 2, the AT&T store, will become 0.85 acres. And Lot 3, which is Pepper's Deli, will become 1.39 acres. All easements are located on this plat, but they may be altered due to development plans before the final plat. And currently all connections to utilities are currently built.
Alderman Mayor.
Can you go back 2 slides? Yeah, there. Where is so the current entrance to Peppers and AT&T is where?
Right here.
Is that the only easement to get into that back parcel?
Yes. The back parcel's only frontage along the highway. It is actually the eastern side of the AT&T parking lot, that little area right here.
But currently there's no egress from that pink part on the highway, right? Or is there? Is there a driveway into the AT&T store?
There is a driveway to the AT&T store, one from Highway 12 and the other from the shared access between Pepper's Deli and the AT&T store.
Thank you.
That's the driveway to the east, and here's the shared drive, which I believe they have an easement on.
That is correct. There is an easement.
So if that property is developed, that's a big piece of property, how is it going to be accessed?
Through here, this would be, zoom into that portion. You can see here that larger property would then obtain that drive and still allow access to AT&T and Peppers onto that drive, but it would have the drive all the way to Highway 12. It would be a part of Lot 1, which is the large parcel.
That current space there, 2 lanes or 3 lanes wide?
2 lanes, I believe.
Sorry?
2 lanes wide?
That is correct, 2 lanes.
In your opinion, not knowing what's going to be developed back there, but again, it's a big piece of land. Is that enough space to move traffic in and out of there?
Depending on how the development is accessed, they also have easement that comes in between the Quick Lube place and O'Reilly Auto Parts, so they do have access through this property to Stark Road.
Okay. Does that property go all the way back to
Hollywood.
Hollywood?
There's one parcel in between them and Hollywood Boulevard.
Okay. Thank you.
Alderman Walker.
Thank you for the report. I think Alderman Maynard's beginning to touch on a couple questions here. First of all, I think it's a credit to Mr. Pepper for trying to clean up a plat that was clearly a mess. a mess. So I think this goes a long way in cleaning that up. There are a couple of concerns that I do have, and I believe that Alderman Maynard was beginning to touch on this. Large piece of property that's on the interior where you only have one access to Highway 12. And I believe that it's extremely unlikely, with that being an MDOT road, that would ever become a signalized entrance because it's so close to the intersection of Stark Road and Highway 12. So having access there, I think, is somewhat limiting. I believe the easement that you're just speaking of is appropriate, but I also believe that's somewhat limiting. If anybody's been on Stark Road at just about any time of the day, if you are traveling south on Stark Road, you know if you're at that red light, that if it's 4 or 5 cars deep, you're essentially not allowing people to be able to get to the on-ramp on Highway 12 and could potentially block traffic. I believe it'll be likely that traffic would back all the way up past that driveway, meaning that if you're now traveling north on Stark Road, if you're trying to make a left-hand turn through that easement, you're not going to be able to make that turn if cars are stopped at the red light, which is likely to back up traffic southward on Stark Road through the intersection. So I think we have some real potential traffic issues that we've got to try to deal with. And I believe that one of the solutions is going to be whatever happens right here to allow us for future development to the north, to allow access to at least occur upon future development to Hollywood Boulevard, so we can have access to Stark Road there, with the potential long-term with the growth on Stark Road, potentially having a signalized intersection there. If you've ever tried to pull out of Hollywood Boulevard to try to go left or right, it can be difficult. And I think that's going to be a prime candidate for a traffic signal as this area continues to grow. Furthermore, I think it's very important that once we allow people inside of that block, I think MDOT, through their safety study, and City Engineer Daniel, you may be able to answer this, I think they're going to be looking to limit the amount of curb cuts off of Highway 12. Is that accurate, Edward?
We have not seen the final plan, but they are trying to do some safety improvements on Highway 12, which the main purpose would be limit left turn movements. So I think it's a very high possibility that there will be limited left turns along the entire corridor. This is not just be isolated.
Right. So with that being said, I think one of the things that's going to be real important as we're at the plat stage right now, preliminary plat moving forward, is that what this is going to become, whatever happens in there, we're talking about a new shopping center essentially for the city of Starkville. And we've got to make sure that internal circulation in that shopping center works. And now's the time to get that right. I don't think anybody wants to recreate the Lowe's, Kroger sort of parking lot of how you try to maneuver through that. So here's a chance right now to make sure we get that right up front. So I think the internal connectivity is real important, especially as we look at, I don't believe that AT&T and Sweet Peppers are likely to go anytime soon, but I do believe that some of the other things on Highway 12 have a likelihood of transitioning. And we need to make sure that those, in my opinion, we need to make sure that those lots are accessible from the interior, knowing that it's very likely that accessibility off of Highway 12 is likely to be limited based on an MDOT study that is going to be forthcoming. So I think this plat goes a long way in making those things happen and improving that. I think the step that I will be recommending is adding a couple conditions to help make sure that we don't landlock ourselves in and having an isolated building as opposed to a thriving shopping center that has good internal vehicular and pedestrian circulation.
Further discussion?
Mr. Mayor, I recognize.
You may.
Gentlemen, what are you recommending that we do with this from your professional viewpoint?
I would make the recommendation that we move approval of the plat with a few conditions, and I will make a recommendation of approval of PP 1518 for subdividing and replatting 4 parcels located on the north and west of the Highway 12 and Stark Road intersection into 3 parcels with the following conditions. 1, locate a frontage drive stub out to the undeveloped parcel PPIN 4772 to the north to allow for future connection to Hollywood Boulevard. Daniel, on this right there, it's essentially It's pretty close to where that sewage line is to the left right there. If you look at that, yeah, so you'll be right there. That would allow, if that parcel to the north is developed, that would allow the potential avenue to connect that could ultimately connect to Hollywood Boulevard, essentially recreating a grid in that location to allow easier access to Stark Road and to Highway 12. Second condition, locate a stub out to the south to allow for future connection to PPIN 7933. That would be where the chevron and the that parcel right there. Leaving that up to the designer and whatever's going to be there to just make sure we have that cross connection. That's very similar to what we have between Sweet Peppers and the AT&T building currently. Place a sidewalk as required by city ordinance along the south property line of Lot 3 on the preliminary plat. And place a sidewalk as required by city ordinance along the west property line of Lot 2 on the preliminary plat.
Have you got that reduced to right?
Got that reduced to right.
Motion has been made, it's been read, it's been reduced to writing without objection. I will not ask for it to be reread. Do we hear a second? Second. Motion has been seconded by Alderman Little. Alderman Walker, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, I think looking forward to this, really an important piece of property to look at shopping center and more development to happen in Starkville. And I think this puts us in a position to make that happen.
Further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Saying none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. Thank you, gentlemen. The next matter on the agenda is the discussion and consideration of CU 15-13. Mr. Sanders?
CU 15-13, request by Springer Engineering on behalf of First Baptist Church for a parking lot expansion on the two parcels currently zoned C2. The property is zoned C2, and according to charter permitted uses, a parking lot will require conditional use. As you can see in the photo, it's sort of old. This is sort of the dirt work of the new children's center that was built, and then they have a new parking lot here. This lot used to have a house on it, and there's a strip of property here that used to be part of the railroad right-of-way. Their parking lot would be located like this. This is the new parking lot. The children's building is just off screen to the north. This would be the parking lot, gravel drive with parking on it, and this is currently a gravel lot that would be paved. The 5 criteria for conditional use, one is land use compatibility. The adjacent properties are currently either residential or parking. Landscape screening to minimize some of the visual impacts of the residential areas. Requirement number 2, or criteria 2, is sufficient site size and adequate site specifications to accommodate the proposed use. The site is adequately sized to accommodate the proposed use. Criteria 3, proper use of mitigated techniques, none proposed. 4 is hazardous waste, no hazardous waste. 5 is compliant with applicable laws and ordinances. The parking lot will be required to meet all current ordinances relating to site design. The current site plan shows a gravel drive with gravel parking on the southern parcel, which is this area right here. Appendix A, Article 7, Section L requires that all parking lots adjacent to public right-of-way shall be paved either entirely or in combination of the following: asphalt, concrete, porous pavement, concrete pavers, or brick pavers. If gravel were to be used, a variance from this requirement would be needed. The requested conditions from planning and zoning is all sidewalks along South Lafayette Street and North Washington Street need to be replaced with sidewalks that conform to current city standards. That would be the walks just south of where they've recently done construction this way. They're in pretty bad shape. They're narrow and really broken up. And then some of the walks along Washington from this drive all the way back are in a similar situation, some of it damaged during construction. For the southern portion of the parking lot to be gravel, the applicant shall obtain a variance from the requirements of Appendix A, Article 7, Section L, and all site lighting shall be shielded away from adjacent residential properties.
Move approval.
We've got to have a public hearing on this conditional use. At this time, is there anyone wishing to speak on this matter? Anyone from the general public wishing to speak on this matter? Anyone wishing to speak?
Mr. Mayor, may I be recognized?
You may.
Mr. Havlin and Mr. Sanders, I see in the staff report that you mentioned notice, but I believe that notice on October 26th went to the P&Z Commission rather than notice for this.
November 26th, this was.
Should be November 26th.
Well, the Board of Aldermen's noticed on November 26th.
Good. That's what I need to know. Thank you.
All right, is there anyone wishing to speak? Anyone now wishing to speak? Seeing no one, that motion is now in order. Alderman Vaughn has moved to approve CU 15-13, a request by First Baptist Church for a conditional use to build on a parking lot on commercially zoned parcels at the northwest corner of the intersection of South Lafayette Street and the railroad tracks with parcel numbers 102A-00-033.00 and 102A-00-032.00 as presented. Alderman Vaughn, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been seconded by Alderman Perkins. Alderman Vaughn, do you wish to speak on the matter?
Yes, sir. Going down Lafayette, when you're going to Lafayette, right before you get to the railroad crossing, it's that gravel road right there. It's the gravel road you're talking about, right?
Correct.
Okay, and then coming down Washington, coming down South Washington, right before you go up on the bridge, that's the sidewalk you're talking about, right?
Correct. They're all the way back to.
All the way back to Lemon Street.
Further discussion. Alderman Walker.
Very happy that the First Baptist Church is finally getting ready to complete their project, all the work that they've done. And if Alderman Vaughn would like, I'd like to offer the following friendly amendment. Would be the same staff recommendations, just slight rewording of that first one, because I think the intent for those sidewalks on Washington and Lafayette is to have them to conform, and I agree that I think those sidewalks need to do that. So I would offer this as I want to say that all sidewalks along South Lafayette and South Washington need to be replaced with sidewalks that conform to city ordinance. The new sidewalks, and this is the important part that I think distinguishes it, the new sidewalks shall match the existing sidewalks street side edge location adjacent to South Lafayette and South Washington Streets. What I mean by that is now that will start where the existing sidewalk is where the new one will start, and it'll go the 5 feet on the inside of the property as opposed to being 18 inches off, essentially in the same place that it currently is now. And I would offer one, and I think you see it clearly, one additional condition for the board to consider is you've already gone about halfway along that gravel road, that I would offer this condition that a sidewalk shall be located along the southern end of the parking lot along the gravel road that connects South Lafayette and South Washington Street. They're already showing it essentially to where they're showing parking. And I think it would be just hugely beneficial for both the church and the community if you went that rest of that way and connected that to Lafayette. Now, it could certainly come down to the gravel road and doesn't have to go through those trees. But I think that would be something that I would hope that the church would consider doing to make that truly a walkable stretch between Lafayette and Washington.
Alderman Vaughn, do you yield?
That's it.
All right. So without objection, we'll make that a part of the motion. Seeing no objection, Alderman Walker has reduced his amendment, which Alderman Vaughn has yielded to, and there's been no objection to writing. The clerk now has that. Without objection, I won't ask for it to be reread. All right, so Alderman Walker's modified conditions are now part of the main motion that you're considering. Alderman Little.
Does city ordinance require a sidewalk across that back stretch on the gravel road?
Yes, sir.
It does?
Yes, sir.
How come P&Z didn't have that as a condition? You mean that private property there across that back stretch on a gravel road that's not a public drive is required to have a sidewalk across the entire perimeter?
Along the private road, yes, sir.
From city ordinance, it's required.
Yes, sir.
Why wasn't that presented in that manner?
Section 98-54, paragraph 1.
Was that discussed with the church during the DRC? And why wasn't it, if it wasn't?
I believe it was, but I would have to check our notes to verify.
This is also just a preliminary plan. just so that they can start going through the process to see if that use will be allowed. They still have to go back to the RC for approval.
Mr. Sanders, can you read 9854-1?
Sidewalk shall require within the right-of-way of both sides of all new public or non-city owned streets located within the City of Starkville sidewalk development area or subdivisions as expressed in subsection 98-53, paragraph 1. Sidewalks shall be required from lot line to lot line with the right-of-way along the frontage of existing public or non-city owned streets located within the city. If sidewalks are not located within public right-of-way, appropriate easements shall be provided if the sidewalk parallels public roadways.
So your position is this development triggers that ordinance, and that's why the sidewalks are mandatory?
That is correct. There's being construction activity on the property.
Okay.
Further discussion?
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor of Alderman Vaughn's motion as amended, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
The next matter on the agenda is a request for approval to expand the existing agreement with Tyler Technologies to include the Content Manager application electronic filing at a cost of $49,295. Alderman Maynard.
Mr. Mayor, I move approval of this to expand the existing agreement with Tyler Technologies to include the Content Manager electronic filing application at a cost of $49,295, with $30,000 of that due now and the balance due October 1st, 2016.
Motion has been made by Alderman Maynard to approve of expanding the existing agreement with Tyler Technologies to include the Content Manager application electronic filing at a cost of $49,295 as presented, with the cost to be paid as follows: $30,000 now and the balance on October 1st, 2016. Alderman Maynard, is that your motion?
Yes, it is.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Perkins. Alderman Maynard, you wish to speak on the merits?
I'll ask Tony to come up and talk about the importance of this software and why it's needed.
Good evening, Mayor and the board. I believe everyone here is very familiar with our recommendation for electronic filing. This is something that we've been requesting for quite some time. Everyone understands the advantages and benefits of electronic storage for court documents. The list is very long. I don't want to go into all of those, but number one, it's going to improve the efficiency and productivity greatly. It will reduce human error, it's going to reduce paper, and ultimately reduce cost. It's going to reduce the need to look for lost or misplaced files. We can also locate files in seconds rather than minutes, hours, or sometimes even days. Documents can be viewed in different locations simultaneously, and another big issue will help mitigate storage issues that we currently have. If you go back and look at our storage, we had to leave some documents over at the police department that we were getting rid of the same sheet because we don't even have room back here to expand. We have about 42 filing cabinets and they're packed. We've had to resort to filing other files on top of filing cabinets. So these are some of the advantages and benefits. This has primarily been a funding issue for the last several years. I think we'll get it resolved, and I hope we can move forward.
Discussion. Alderman Walker.
Just a point of clarification. So, Mr. Rook, is this will this be electronic filing for new documents that are coming in, or will this be allow us to begin to scan and store the existing documents that we have and put them in the system?
We hope to do both. What we plan on doing is just create a starting date and start it. For example, March 30th or April 1st. Everything that comes in will start to show electronically. And as we run across existing files, given the manpower, if we have the manpower, we plan on integrating those into the system as well. This is not something that's going to happen overnight.
Right.
It's not gonna happen in a year. We have tens of thousands of
Right.
files. Now, if we can find some manpower to help do that, we can get that resolved.
So the plan is over time that our current documents would be filed electronically?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. We have been here for 2 hours, and we've still got quite a bit of agenda to cut through. Without objection, I'm going to move us into a brief recess. Any objection? Any objection? Seeing none, stand in a brief recess. Meeting will now come back to order. Next matter before you is request for approval of the rejection of bids to repair the bridge on Yellow Jacket Drive and authorization to re-advertise the project to coincide with the 2016 summer construction schedule. I'll ask, if you don't mind, well, let's hear the motion. Motion's been made to approve the rejection of bids to repair the bridge on Yellow Jacket Drive and authorize to re-advertise the project to coincide with 2016 summer construction schedule. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been seconded by Alderman Vaughn. Alderman Maynard, you wish to speak on the merits?
Yes, sir, but I'll yield to you first if you have.
Okay. I just thought it would be a good idea on this one to let Mr. Kemp explain what happened, because this is more complicated than we originally thought it was. And as the motion says, we would like to solicit bids on the project again at a later date, but it is unlikely this project can be performed at the budget we previously set. And I thought that was a conversation worth having. So, Mr. Kemp.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Board, for having me back. I was very disappointed with the bids when they came back, and 'cause I know the condition that the bridge is in, and was really hopeful that we could have got it done over this Christmas holiday. However, the bids came back extremely high, excessively high almost, I would say. And I just had some conversations with the contractors afterwards and just talked through a little bit about it off the record. And the timing of it during the Christmas holidays was a problem, as well as the very condensed 30-day contract to do the work. As you know, December is not always the most ideal conditions to be working in a ditch. Sometimes they're okay. Sometimes it's continually raining in December. So that was another factor that they were uncertain about. So my recommendation is to re-advertise. I'm going to make a couple of tweaks to the plans to try to lower the cost a little bit. And also extend the contract time out to about 50 to 55 days. And I was looking at the schedule this week. I think we could give a notice to proceed in June, 1st of June, and be done by, say, end of July. And that would not conflict with the school traffic there at the high school. And we would hopefully be back open running when the school comes back open. But the mayor's right. The cost, the 80,000 was very conceptual cost estimate. I really don't know what these next bids are going to come back, because it is a very unique type of work. We're essentially taking a bridge apart, putting back the underlayment, and putting that same concrete bridge structure back. So it's not something that we do a whole lot. It's hard to get really good cost estimates on that. And there's only probably 2 or 3 bridge contractors within a 30 to 40 mile radius of Starkville. So that's another factor. But I would like to give it another shot and bring back those bids to the board probably in late May. And we'll have to have a discussion about additional funding at that time, depending on what the bids come back.
Discussion. Alderman Maynard, then I've got Vaughn.
Do you have any projection with what those costs might be?
Alderman, if you'll give me a little bit of time, I'll try to have some additional conversations with some contractors about what a realistic number would be like in a ideal scenario, conditions wise, and I'll report that back to you. I'm sure you're trying to do some planning budget wise, so I'd hate to tell you a number tonight and not be accurate. So,
just to remind the board, this item came up after we had approved the budget for this fiscal year, and it was a non-budgeted item that we piecemealed money together for to get what we had. It will take some extensive looking and reworking of the budget to fund this. That even if we said it was $250,000, that's still going to be a significant portion of money to come up with. We're just going to have to look at alternatives for funding at that time.
Alderman Vaughn.
Skip, can we look at this close about a year, a week or two after school closing, that we can try to get this in so we won't run into the school opening back up for the summer?
Yes, sir. The calendar, on the academic calendar, I looked that up this week, and I want to say the last day of school for students is like the 25th or 26th of May, and then the teachers work maybe a day or two later, but maybe the 27th was the last day of teachers. I tried to start the construction.
First week of June?
Yes, sir. After all the students and the teachers are through, just to not cause as much impact on the
That'd be great.
school
It'd be great
traffic.
if we can get it
Yes,
done
sir.
that way.
Further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. Next matter on the agenda is a request for approval of the claims docket. Discussion.
So moved.
Motion has been made by Alderman Walker to approve of the City of Starkville claims docket for all departments, including the Starkville Utilities Department, as of December 9th, 2015, for fiscal year ending September 30th, 2016, as presented. Alderman Walker, is that your motion?
Yes.
Do I hear a second? Second. Motion has been seconded by Alderman Maynard. Alderman Walker, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No.
Any discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. All those opposed, please signify by raising your hand. By a vote of 5 in favor and 2 against, this motion passes. The next matter on the agenda is a request for permission to pay emergency equipment professionals $14,600. Motion's been made by Alderman Vaughn
Yes, sir.
to approve of paying emergency equipment professionals $14,664.15 for numerous emergency repairs to Ladder 1 as presented. Alderman Vaughn, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Perkins. Alderman Vaughn, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. The next matter on the agenda is a request for permission to apply for a firefighter grant in the amount of $194,307. The SFD would like to use funds for this grant to replace aging firefighter air packs for the entire department. In addition, this grant would also be used to replace an aging bottle refill station. If awarded, this is a 10%, $19,430.70 cost matching grant. Discussion.
Move approval.
Motion has been made by Alderman Vaughn to approve of a firefighter grant in the amount of $194,307 with a city match of $19,430.70 as presented. Alderman Vaughn, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Vaughn, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. The next matter on the agenda is a request for permission to update the current hiring procedures for the Starkville Fire Department. Discussion. Chief, you want to introduce?
Good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Board of Aldermen. In our current policy, which was dated back in 2007, on the number 3 and 4, we really don't have a policy that's in place, don't really define what our hiring is. We do a physical agility test and an employment test, that's all it states. For the last 6 to 7 years, we've been doing a 14-minute mile-and-a-half run, employment test, and an interview board, and that's pretty much it. On this policy, on the new, what I wanted to put in place was to more define what our system would be, which would be a mile-and-a-half run, an employment test, and then also assessment board, taking these three, putting them together and getting our best candidates. So every time we have to do this, right now we hiring 2 people. Should be, hopefully we hire 2 tonight. And we still have 3 slots open. Our current policy don't allow us to get the best not the best candidates, we get the best candidates, but right now, we don't get enough candidates. So we have to keep doing this over and over. Every time we do a hiring, it costs us about $2,000 to do a hiring. So trying to get something figured out to get more candidates interested in the fire department right now.
Chief, let me recognize.
You may.
Chief, under item number 3, under 5.3, the hiring procedures, you have there, notice this test may be modified or changed by the fire chief. I would probably suggest we change that, if you want to leave that statement in there, that we change that to state with approval by the board. I don't want us to have one set of procedures out there, then the procedures get changed and somebody that was involved in the first procedures come back and say, well, that wasn't the way it was when I went through that. I just want to protect the city and protect you in that regard. So I guess my question is, why did you feel the need to have that sentence in there?
Well, actually, that's supposed to be with approval by the board.
Okay. Well, yeah, we can make that addition.
That was one of the reasons we wanted to put this in the first place, too.
And Ms. Halbert, under number 4, where the entry-level firefighter test will be administered to all qualified job applicants by the city, Starkville's Human Resource Director, or I guess I asked Chief, is there published criteria for pass-fail on that?
On this one it is, on the current one is not. But we always did it 70%, but on our rule book, the current rule book is not, nothing established.
I would say that we need to qualify that there as well, so that it's clear as to what passing is. If all people that pass are gonna go forward, then we need to go ahead and establish what that passing criteria is, so that everybody will understand that going into it. There won't be any discrepancy there.
I would like to do 70%.
Is that what it currently is?
It's currently, that's what we've been using for the last 7, but
Okay.
it's not rule book, it's not.
That'd be fine, yeah. And the only other question I had, so all candidates have to run in 17.42.
Right, that's the cutoff time, 17.4.
And that's male or female?
Male or female.
And I'm sure there's an explanation for this, but there's different score criteria set for male and female.
Right. This is the same scale we use for our promotional system. This is the same scale they use in the military.
Okay.
So we just adopted the one we use in the military, which is gender-based.
Okay, but then the same 17.42 applies for females as for males. I just want to take a look at that and make sure, Ms. Halbert, that we're meeting equal criteria on both sides there. And then finally, Chief, on the second to last page where it lists stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, the second to last sentence under stage 4, once the candidate reaches the 75-foot mark, he or she gently places the nozzle down on a pad and begins, should that be stage 5 right there?
That's
Okay, I just want to make sure that was cleared.
Alderman Maynard, do you have a marked copy anticipating a motion?
I can, yes, sir. Right. All right, Mayor.
Could you read
I
the
guess
motion? Just
let's
read
see if there's
the
any
change.
discussion, any other discussion.
Okay. Any further discussion? Alderman Carter.
Chief, we know we spoke about this today. This updated policy, does it still have a pass score? Does this updated policy have the same pass score on the testing procedure? Is it a 70 pass fail?
It's 10%.
And that won't be taken off on the updated policy. This updated policy will have a test of a minimum score to pass, right?
Right, on the old one, we didn't have, we give the 7%, but we didn't have it in the rule book. But yes, this will have a 70% pass.
You didn't have that in the old system?
No. We had it, we did it, but it never was defined in the book. So it's something.
So what if somebody made a 69? They were out.
Yeah.
This is just putting that in writing.
Right.
And then the only other concern I have, I think, listening to Alderman Maynard, that's a pretty good, I mean, the military follows by gender. If you, for male, female, we may need to look at that and get some advisement on that from Ms. Howard as to what, is the proper way to conduct the physical side of it, of the testing. So that was my main question. There will be a test. In our conversation today, I got the feel that you said sometimes this, and I've heard from others that this test is pretty hard. It's a pretty hard test, pretty complex test. Is 70 adequate, do you think? I mean, I know on a curriculum scale, 70 is normally the difference, on the academic side, but do you think that it needs to be a 60 or 65, or do you think 70 is not high enough, or just a personal
I think
opinion?
the 70 would be fine. If we probably need to go with a different test. Going to a different test. The test we take right now basically is it's a pretty tough test. We get about 4 weeks to study the test, study for the material, but the process continues out. We need a basic test that measures reading, writing, and comprehension skills. Once I get that person to the fire department, we can teach them things they need to know. Once they go to the academy, EMT. So, basic, simple test would be.
So I feel pretty confident for the people that have come before. We've hired some really qualified candidates. Why are we losing them? Is it a pay difference between us and the neighboring cities?
Right. West Point pays about $6,000 more, so we're losing West Point, Columbus, several other places. So.
I've heard, just from talking to the firemen, I don't think they're leaving for any morale issue. I'm just gonna put it out there and be honest. I think it's pretty much a pay issue. A couple guys, I know one left for a $9,500 pay increase, another left for a $6,500 pay increase, to drive 15 or 20 minutes, and they're only every third day. They're not having to drive every day, so I'll put that on the record as probably the reason. That's something we can address later, but I've never heard any complaints about the administration or the staff or anything like that, which sometimes is the case in the department, but with y'all, I think it's just a pay issue. So, thank you.
Further discussion, Alderman West.
Chief Yarborough, thank you so much for your leadership on this. Numerous times I met with the chief mayor at his office before he left regarding the same matter, and I used to tell him, Chief, if that's the problem in your department, change it. So thank you so much for your leadership on this too.
Further discussion.
You can just read it, or you want to go to your, you can just read that, but I got those other two changes. You got number 5, and what was the other?
Get it all on one document if you can. Alderman Little.
This is gonna be a work in progress, I think.
Did you ask a question about the criteria for the wetland, but there wasn't any change?
They're going by the military standard.
There's gotta be a floor, they gotta get there.
Fair point for discussion. Chief, how urgent is this for you?
We can wait till the next board meeting. That's fine.
T5. Yeah, that's all.
Take a look at it.
Not quite there.
That's fine.
Alderman Little has made a suggestion to push this to the next board meeting. The chief has indicated that doesn't pose practical difficulties for him. Alderman Maynard, I know you're getting close on a draft, so I'll offer that for.
I'm fine with if that doesn't put him in a bind waiting and us getting a clean copy in front of everybody.
No, that's fine.
All right, so we have no motion pending. We can just recalendar this for the next meeting if discussion dies. Is there any further discussion on the topic? Any further discussion?
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Attorney, will you share with the fire chief before he leaves tonight, so he'll know what change you have written down, so he can get that all typed and
Absolutely.
incorporated for the agenda for the January the 5th?
And it's just 2 sentences. Do you want me to read it now so the
Yes,
board
sir,
can
he
hear
can
it
get-
and the
yes,
chief
sir.
can hear it?
Yes, sir. Direct
Chief-
him to the page and everything.
Chief, I'm talking about number 3, under 5.300. It currently reads now, all candidates will successfully complete a physical agility test established by the city and the fire department. The test may be modified or changed by the fire chief, comma, subject to the approval of the Board of Aldermen.
Okay.
Then that next one, an entry-level firefighter test will be administered to all, strike the word qualified. So it'll now say to all job applicants meeting the 70% passage criteria of the physical agility test. And then it goes on to say, by the City of Starkville's Human Resource Director. So again, that language is meeting the 70% passage criteria of the physical agility test. And then if you flip over after the charts to stage 4, and you'll see that second to the last line where it says stage 4, it needs to say stage 5. And that's it. And just give me a call if we need to tweak that further.
Thanks.
Is there any further discussion on this matter? Any further discussion? Seeing none, thank you, Chief.
Thank you, board.
Next matter before you is a discussion and consider. Motion has been made by Alderman Carver to approve of Herman Peters attending the Certified Playground Inspector course February 28th through March 2nd in Galveston, Texas, with advanced travel not to exceed $1,600 as presented. Alderman Carver, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Carver, you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Alderman Perkins.
Mr. Peters, could you speak to that? I'm gonna support this. Could you up to the podium and speak to this, please? I'm gonna support it, but I wanna hear what you have to say, if anything.
This is a conference that the city currently does not have anyone who have been to a certified playground safety course. And this would help us out, especially with the new study that is coming along, because they're gonna ask, when we get to the equipment, has this equipment been tested or outdated, or what do we need to use? It'll benefit the city because therefore, we won't have to bring anybody in, because you would have to pay somebody at least $500 to $1,000 to do your playground safety inspection. And once I finish this course, if approved, and once I finish, I will come back and give a overview of what we did and what we learned and how it will benefit us in the future by me taking this course.
Very well, thank you, Mr. Peters.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Saying none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Thank you, Mr. Peters.
Thank you.
The next matter on the motion has been made by Alderman Carver to approve of the advancement of apprentice lineman Corey Burke from apprentice lineman level 1 to apprentice lineman level 2 in the electric department with annual salary of $39,141, $18.82 per hour as presented. Alderman Carver, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Carver, you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Saying none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. The next matter on the agenda is did I hear a motion?
They move.
Motion has been made by Alderman Carver to approve the hire of Andrew M. Claiborne and Stephen A. Morgan to fill the vacant positions for firefighter in the fire department as presented. Alderman Carver, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Carver, you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Saying none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. Need to hear more ayes in the future. Motion, next matter on the agenda is a request for authorization. Motion has been made by Alderman Carver to authorize the advertisement to fill the vacant position of firefighter in the fire department as presented. Alderman Carver, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Carver, you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. Next matter on the agenda is request for approval. Motion has been made by Alderman Carver to approve the hire of Brian Fields to fill the vacant position of labor of the Sanitation and Environmental Services Department as presented. Alderman Carver, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Carver, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. Next matter on the agenda is motion has been made by Alderman Carver to authorize the re-advertisement to fill the vacant position of accounting clerk in the Starkville Utilities Department as presented. Alderman Carver, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Carver, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. Next matter on the agenda is request for motion has been made by Alderman Carver to authorize the advertisement to fill the vacant position of Assistant Planner in the Community Development Department as presented. Alderman Carver, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Carver, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion?
Vice Mayor.
Vice Mayor.
Mr. Sanders, would you and Mr. Hamlin both come down here, please? Mr. Hamlin already departed. You gave him, is he already gone?
Mr. Howland has left.
You gave him authorization to leave already?
Yes, sir, I did.
Okay, Mr. Sanders, thank you, Mayor. You know, it's being recommended, Ms. Hamlin, you can have a seat. It's being recommended that we fill assistant planner's position. And last time we had somebody, Miss Pamela Daniels, and that's been forever ago. That was during the last term. And of course, the position is budgeted. And of course, we had very low budget discussion, but the budget's been approved. So, and just because the budget's been approved, that does not mean we need to expend the money. So what I want to ask you, Mr. Sanders, you know, why is there a recommendation to fill this position? And let me say this before you answer this. And at this point right now, I feel that this is bureaucracy heavy. You know, I think, and I want to get an explanation why we need it. You know, it seems to me that we have enough staff and manpower up in that department to run that department during the planning duties, the community development director's duties without having to hire any additional staff. You know, it seems to me, and I want you to give me this answer, you know, if we could quit traveling all over the United States of America and be at our office and get this work done, we don't have to hire this additional personnel. Now, just because it's budgeted, I am not in favor of hiring no assistant planner. And in your explanation, I want you to tell me everything that this plan is going to do. I don't want nobody, I don't want us to hire this person, then somebody else is up there drinking coffee, traveling to Washington, D.C., Seattle, Washington, Austin, Texas, all across this country about traveling. You know, we need to spend more time at this office getting the work done instead of enlarging the payroll. The taxpayers that I hear from are not interested in big government. You know, a lot of them think we have too many employees on the payroll. So I want you to tell me why this position is necessary and what this position is going to have this person doing when this person get here, and what is it that we're not doing now that necessitates and mandate a planner. So will you answer those questions for me, please, sir?
Yes, sir. And you're right. The board or any organization should think heavily about their human resources expenses, and that is generally the largest expense that any organization will have. And you're also right. For just the day-to-day duties, one planner would be fine for Starkville. But keep in mind, we're about to go into having a new comprehensive plan. And in any comprehensive plan, there are goals and objectives. The last comprehensive plan, there were goals and objectives. Not all of those goals and objectives were met. Also, typically in a planning organization, you have two divisions of a planning organization. One with a long-term planning and one with just day-to-day questions from the public, processing of applications, seeing to it that notices go out. And then you have more long-range planning, grants, project management, transportation management, historic preservation management, neighborhood management. Essentially, what I would like to do is use the assistant city planner to do the day-to-day nuts and bolts, answering questions from the public, writing up staff memos, seeing to it that the Planning Commission and the Board of Adjustment and Appeals are properly served, and use the city planner to look at more long-range goals, applying for grants, seeing to it that any goals and objectives set forth by the comprehensive plan are met. So, yes, the city would be spending more money on additional person in my staff, but they would be getting more with me, with essentially the city planner being able to focus on quality of life and grant applications that would bring more into the city.
So, Mr. Sanders, who are doing the staff memos and reports in, at this time? Who drafting those right now?
That would be the city planner.
So, are you telling us that you and the planner, Mr. Havling, does not have enough time to do these functions and duties that you just described?
We could do more.
What is it that what will you and Mr. Havling be doing if this position is approved? Like you're saying, you can do more, because you're going to be freed up for some duties if we hire the city planner.
Oh, that's correct, but the comprehensive plan should be finished within the next 6 to 8 months. It will be goals and objectives set forth in that plan, possibly widening up streets, improvement of parks, maybe transportation issues, historic preservation. Essentially, the city planner will be the project manager, seeing to it that the city meets all those goals and objectives, or as best the city can.
Isn't it true, Mr. Sanders, that, if you and Mr. Havlin, with the 4 days work, are you telling us the two of you cannot do these things collectively? That you're telling us that need to be done?
I don't know what will come out of the comprehensive plan. I'm saying that we could do more.
Since you don't know what will come out of the comprehensive plan, well, don't you agree with me that there's no necessity to hire this right now? Hire this person right now, since you don't know?
I would respectfully disagree in that in any comprehensive plan, you're going to have goals and objectives. It's very important that, with any plan, you play to win. If you don't have the appropriate staff to see to it that that ball is carried over the touchdown, over the line for the touchdown, then no one will win.
How much are you proposing to pay this assistant planner? I see the range is $41,747.69 to $55,560.69. What are you proposing as department head for this assistant planner to make?
It will depend, of course, on qualifications and mainly the years of experience. But I think a fair price, a fair salary for someone with 3 to 4 years of experience would be around $45,000.
One last question. As department head, since you don't know what may come out of the comprehensive plan, can we just delay this this discussion until we see what comes out of it on about near that time, as opposed to just bringing somebody on the payroll and just saying we got somebody effective January 1 in 2016? Can we just delay and just wait and see how we may need to proceed at that time?
Well, that's up to the pleasure of the board, but I would like to have someone and get them trained so Mr. Hamlin can, act more as a project manager for long-range projects.
My last question. Let's just say that the comprehensive plan, does not bring or reveal something that may require another person. And the board has already acted and hired this person. Then, how would you handle this as a department head? You got just an extra person on staff. Doesn't really have anything to do.
I would say that the person wouldn't have anything to do.
Primarily, just something, nothing substantively.
But there's always room for improvement, and there's throughout the city, which areas that we can improve by doing neighborhood plans, by working with community groups. So I don't think a position would be a waste.
Mayor, I yield the floor.
Alderman Mayor.
Mr. Sanders, I don't know if you know this off the top of your head or not, but since Ms. Daniel was city planner in the previous administration, how much has our building permits and total construction cost in the city increased?
I don't have the exact numbers in that I was not expecting to go over the issue tonight.
You got a
but
rough
it's been
estimate, maybe?
Substantial.
So we've got a lot more in that office to do now than we did 4 years ago.
That would be correct, yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Alderman Webb.
Thank you so much. Mr. Sanders, let me tell you why I'm supportive of this. Before our CAO left, he helped out your building department immensely, but he's no longer there. So someone has to pick up that. Today when I walked in this evening, one of your employees, and I will not call his name, I said, how's your day been going? And he was telling me about how busy they were. And you know what he said to me? We need some help. This city is bursting at the seams. See, the last board that we had, they were not economic friendly. They didn't want any growth here. So you didn't see that with the last board. This board has embraced economic development, and everywhere that you travel over town, whether you're on Highway 12 West or 12 East, you see economic development projects. All of that takes work from your department. I'm an alderman that you see in this building, am I correct, about 3 or 4 times a week?
Yes, ma'am.
You don't just see me sitting here on a Tuesday night. You see me coming in and out of the building, and I can tell you, hey, I participate in a lot of meetings with you all, am I correct?
Yes, ma'am.
We are blowing and going, and as a result of that, your office needs some assistance. Was just told that by a member of your department today. So I'm going to support this tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Alderman Walker.
Mr. Sanders, I agree with a lot of what's been said, and I agree with the Vice Mayor. I think it's very important to ask, what is really going to be the role of this position, and is it really needed? I agree with Alderman Nguyen that we are experiencing significant growth in the community, and I would say that I appreciate the previous board for, I would say, getting the ball rolling. I think the form-based codes that put in place were pretty pivotal in a lot of the things that you're seeing transpire now. And I think part of the reason that we need the potential for an assistant planner, but where I agree with the Vice Mayor is I think it needs to be really clearly defined what that role is going to be and what duties are going to be performed beyond what's in the job description. And I would say it would be the same for both your position and the city planner position, clearly defining what those roles and expectations are. What I've noticed is, from being on planning and zoning and now here, is that the person in that city planner position, from Mr. Griffith on down, really has to focus on operational, the day-to-day sort of activities that can be very time-consuming. And I would say in that regard, I don't know that we've really had a city planner that is able to actually plan for what happens next. It's more about dealing with what happens on a day-to-day basis. So if I support this tonight, I fully expect that city planner position or the assistant city planner, my expectation is going to be that we move well beyond sort of the rote day-to-day operational planning of the city, and we certainly begin to function like a true community development organization where we're going to be doing those neighborhood plans. We're going to be hosting those neighborhood meetings where we're going to truly be doing planning that's going to benefit the city. And if that's not the end result of this, then I don't support this position. If that is the end result of this, then I think then I can support it. But at the end of the day, it's going to be up to this board to make that determination pretty quickly. And I think it can be, up to 1 fiscal year, whether or not that we're seeing the benefits of this position or not. Because what's been made clear is from bridges being out to other things is there's a lot of places we could choose to spend this money. And you're right, personnel eats up the biggest chunk of our budget. And I do believe that another professional person here can be needed to help us get there, but it's going to be up to you. It's going to be up to you as the department head of that position to ensure that that's the direction that happens. And if that's the case, I can certainly support that. But I think that's going to be something that I hope this board will scrutinize over the next year or two as this is being hired, and to evaluate, is that position truly necessary or not? Because when Ms. Daniels was hired, there was no community development director position at the time, and so we're going from 2 to 3, which I think is potentially supportive. But you gotta. At the end of the day, I want to see what the results are going to be. And so that burden's going to be on you to direct that staff to come up with true planning.
Yes, sir. The burden will always be on me, but I think we have parallel visions
Absolutely.
for Starkville and community development department, particularly the planning division.
Further discussion?
Mayor, I would withdraw my motion, please.
All right, without objection, Alderman Carver withdraws his motion. Any objection to Alderman Carver withdrawing his motion? All right, so you have no motion pending.
May I be recognized?
You may.
Mr. Sanders? I wanted it tonight, and it's obvious that this is not going to be supported tonight. But your department, and I'm going to say this, you need some help. And I wish, our schedules are very busy, but I wish that people could come in and see what you all are doing up there. But since they can't, certainly they can look around town and see the many projects that are going on. You all need some assistance. We have an executive administrative assistant that answers to 7 members of this board. I can't imagine how she does it, but she does it. And then she answers to you for your department. She's only one person, she just can't help. Well, she handles it all, but I would like to see you with some assistance in your department. Again, this board has been so pro-growth friendly toward economic development in our city. For the first time, you finally seen a board of aldermen that is moving this city forward. We don't live in the dark ages anymore. And I think you clearly recognize that. And in terms of travel, I'm glad when you and the rest of the department heads travel, because I've said it, and I've said it many times before. You see Columbus, Oxford, I was up there that Friday, they're growing. Tupelo, those people are not just sitting down. They're out of town and they're lobbying. I like to use the word hustling for their cities. And I've seen you do that as well. A great loss of our city has been the loss of Mr. Adams, because he helped in your department so much. Mr. Mayor, I yield for it this time.
Alderman Carver.
I'll probably support it if we just see some type of org chart that shows, a breakdown of what you envision yourself doing when somebody takes some of the responsibility off your shoulders, and as far as the meetings and the other extracurricular activities. If you could just tell us, why the need is there. I heard a pretty good explanation tonight, but if I could see in comparison to the comprehensive plan of what you see your department doing for the next, say, 6 months to 5 years, maybe?
Well, if it would please the board, I can prepare the information, present it at a later date.
Alderman Maynard.
Thank you, Mr. Sanders. I make a motion to table this until the next meeting so Mr. Sanders can present that detailed plan to the board.
You want to table it or you want to postpone it to the next meeting?
Postpone it to the next meeting.
Motion has been made by Alderman Maynard to postpone discussion on item 11I6 to the meeting on January 5th, 2015. Alderman Maynard, is that the motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Carver. Alderman Maynard, you wish to speak on the merits?
Thank you for taking that additional time to put all this together so we can see the big picture and everybody can get an understanding of where you envision this department going.
Sure, my pleasure.
Thanks.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. The next matter before you is a discussion and consideration for Chief Frank Nichols to serve.
Move approval.
Motion has been made by Alderman Carver, Alderman Little. to approve Chief Frank Nichols serving as a lecturer in the Department of Sociology at Mississippi State University with classes to be held on Thursday nights from 6 to 8:30, January through May 2016 as presented. Alderman Little, is that your motion?
It is.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Little, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Any discussion, any discussion, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. Next matter you have before you is request for approval of the updated list of SPD unmarked cars as required by Mississippi Code 21-1-87.
Move approval.
Motion's been made by Alderman Little to approve the updated list of SPD unmarked cars as required by Mississippi Code 25-1-87. Alderman Little, is that your motion?
It is.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been seconded by Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Little, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Any discussion, any discussion, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes. Next matter before you is a request for approval to purchase water pipe from Southern Pipe. The motion has been made by Alderman Walker to approve the purchase of water pipe from Southern Pipe, the submitter of the lowest quote to replace a section of water line along Louisville Street that has had numerous breaks and leaks over the past 12 months as presented. Alderman Walker, is that your motion?
Yes.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been seconded by Alderman Vaughn. Alderman Walker, you wish to speak on the merits?
No.
Any discussion, any discussion, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Motion clearly passes,
Can I
and
recognize?
that, ladies and gentlemen, I believe was the last motion of 2015. Alderman Perkins.
I'm gonna make the last motion.
One more.
Oh, we do have technically one more, I suppose. Go for it.
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, I move that we stand adjourned until the 5th day of January 2016 at 5:30 in this boardroom.
Motion has been made by Alderman Perkins to adjourn until January 5th, 2016, 5:30 in the courtroom located at City Hall, in City Hall located at 110 West Main Street. Alderman Perkins, that's your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been seconded by Alderman Vaughn. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. We stand adjourned. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
All right.